Ulongata bati yada to ye kuma daifa. Ino to ye ko je love bipa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Songo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, tan she nile yo. Ojelo jara.
Califia, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Tarisha Bemi, and today we got another Titan from the field in the building, man. We got the brother Chief Rod Hayes in the building. Peace and blessings, man. What's good with you, brother? How you doing?
Good. I heard you say Califia. You know that song, Finger Califia?
How it go?
I don't want to sing it, but it was in the Lion King, the first Lion King. But it's a greeting song.
Okay, that's what's up. Well, yeah, the word, you know.
Well, since you brought it up, I might as well make mention. So that song is ancient. Every time we come to the end of the 4 cycles, they start rewriting that song in a different language. That's to welcome the ancient ones back.
Listen, we here now. Like, for real. I've been saying that.
Everybody waiting on us to come flying. We came back through the womb.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can't get here no other way. It's only one entrance. Yes, uterus.
Yes, sir. Big fox. Listen, it's so dope because when we spoke Thursday, right? I had my live was set up, you had a live set up, and it was, I'm gonna tell you, what's like astounding is like after we spoke that day, whenever we spoke to lock in today, I went back and I was watching yours, the one you did that night, and bro, when I tell you we both was talking about some of the same, you went way further, you know, with what you was talking about, but we was talking about some of literally the identical topics, and we didn't talk about none of that on that first call. You know what I'm saying? When we first got introduced and connected. So I'm like, you talk about divine alignment, bro. I was watching yours. I'm like, yo, this is crazy because I just released that live, I think yesterday. We was talking about a lot of stuff we're gonna get into today. So with that, man, I can't wait to go there because I already know what this is about to be. It's gonna be another one of them ones.
So let's get into it then. Where you want to start?
Listen, I want to start with the what's going on with the dirty Moors. Let's talk about the Black Pope. You know, the Black Pope is, I've been saying that for a minute on this channel, but we really about to go in on that and what that relates to. But can you kind of share, just before we go, for those who are new on the channel who might not know your work yet, can you just kind of share with the tribe how you got into, you know, being who you are now, like your journey and your path into being, you know, who and what you are as a healer, as a teacher, as an awakener, you know, all the things that you do.
Well, I started off from a child getting instructions from my big mama, Mother Margaret, and my mama. My mama used to teach me stuff and counsel me on stuff. And I didn't know at the time that I would need it at this time. So I've been being primed to do this work from birth or before. And once I came home from prison, I did 16 years. Once I came home from prison, I had learned so much from studying in there over the 16 years that I wanted to help. Everybody shut their door in my face. Right? So I come back, I started working, you know, I was working at GM, but the straw that broke the camel's back was the contract negotiations that I left on. I can't stand to watch somebody with with more power abusing people just because they can and not say nothing. And my work family was being bullied. So they were doing negotiations in the midst of a federal corruption investigation. And I was trying to inform the people I work with, that's not a good faith negotiation. All parties are not coming to the table in good faith. Well, this triggered me to be like, y'all don't want to listen. I'll go out here and I'll find somebody who will. And this began my journey right after my mother passed. I just couldn't take it no more. I had the overwhelming internal drive to stand up for the collective, which was the collective tribes of the Earthborn. In this process, I began to follow the oral traditions of the tribes, which is you don't have to tell nobody, just put it in the public domain, and the people that's supposed to get it going to eventually get it. And they're going to discuss it among themselves, and then they're going to know if you telling them the truth or not. And if you telling them the truth, you make all of the tribal traditions actionable by just following the tribal tradition. I'm not following the patriotic conditions of United States Corporation, Admiralty, Maritime Jurisdiction, masquerading as a government to enslave the people of the land of Turtle Island that I am from, organic Mississippi clay dirt walking. So somebody got to say something. Everybody don't have to do something, but somebody got to bring to light the problem, cause, and the solution. And so that's what I've been doing over the last 5.5, 6 years, is putting in the public domain the whole parameters of this fraud and how to get from under it. The information is more valuable than anybody can pay for. I give it away for free because my brother and sister bought all the books already. So it's already paid for. It's prepaid information in my head. I just have to organize it, simplify it, and put it in the public domain for the rest of the members of each collective tribe to have access to the information. But it's also notifying the system, the government, the fake government, notice the agent being notice the principal, that their time is up. Our time is now. They need to find somewhere to be because they can't be here. So that's where we at in this journey. And I've been periodically mapping what is being done in the Washington Military District or the District of America, whatever one they're using right now. But I've been telling people what they so-called president is doing because it looked one way, but it is actually something else taking place. It's the liquidation of a corporation. They can't liquidate the corporation without auditing the assets, because when they surrender the corporate holdings to the rightful heirs of the land, they got to know what they're giving you. They got to know where all of the money was going and who was stealing it, who wasn't stealing it. They need all that has to be accounted for. So we watching the dismantling of the corporation, but it's not going to be as traumatic to the people as many people believe. So that's the short version of my.
Gotcha. Nah, that's powerful. But the thing about it is, there's so many different things that I feel like you touched on that I've touched on before, but I want to like I say go a lot deeper, because the way that I see it is right now we have, which is like you were saying earlier, we're in a transformation, or we're going through another cycle, right? So we're going from a lunar cycle into a solar cycle. We're going from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. But so we're talking about there's a cosmic shift, a solar shift going on, as well as a planetary shift that's going on, as well as the shift in consciousness that's going on. So it's like a recipe for success for us to be where we are now. And I was checking out the video you did, I think it was Thursday or Friday, Brother Young Elder's channel, and you was breaking down the different processes that's already kind of taken place that we're seeing come to fruition, you know, within our very eyes, but don't know like the things that's tied to that. So for example, excuse me, can you kind of tap into the agreement that I think was made in like 2014 or whatever it was? It was like a transaction that happened in 2014 when the Pope reached out to Obama.
The Obama letter from the Pope was telling him to dismantle the corporation.
Got you. Can you
He
kind of
told
tap
him
in that a little
to,
bit?
yeah. So he was telling them in the letter, dismantle the corporation. Everything that the Pope or the Vatican was tied to, and the corporation masquerading as our government. He was given the commander in chief at the time, Barack Obama, who was an imposter in office, the instructions to dismantle the structure and give it back to the people from the land, because we were occupied. Most of us don't know that we live in an occupied, militarized zone, the whole Turtle Island. All of those countries came over here and they attacked us. We didn't attack them. We was minding our own business. Everybody, history started 1492 over here.
Yes, sir.
So I always asked her, what the hell was we doing in 1491? Was we doing any of this in 1491? We had no Bible. We had no Quran. We had no Torah, no Mishnah, no Talmud. But we was high functioning society until they bombed us into oblivion. So this is the return of the ones with the birthright to restore order as caretakers of the land across the land. The first thing we had to do is get rid of the occupiers, the foreign forces that's masquerading as our government and our big business, and take it all back. This is what the whole tariff thing is about. The tariff thing is about all them corporations was shipping jobs overseas, and they was trying to raise the inflation rate on the currency by raising the value of worthless shit they sell us. So the tax the people and send the money to everybody around the world. We not benefiting from it. Somebody got to show it to us. We wasn't benefiting from it. If you look at all of the tax money that they accounting for, they didn't found trillions of dollars that they got to give us back. I didn't say it, they did.
Yes, sir. Now, when you say that, where did they say it? Because that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff being said and done, but it's done almost in secrecy. But it's small little, cracks of information, ways of seeing
both Elon Musk and Donald Trump have identified what they call misappropriated assets. Trump said it, put out his own mouth. That we doing this for who? The people. We don't know that in the tribal tongue, almost every tribal name translates as the people or kinfolk. We don't know that because we lost our culture through this miseducation system. They told us a history narrative that's devoid of us. They don't even count us in the history record. They literally ignored us out of history and erased us out of history, but we still here.
That part, we here now. Yes, yeah, that's deep. So when it comes to what we're seeing now in regards to, let's talk about Turtle Island, right? Can you kind of break down, describe like what Turtle Island is? I'm not sure how many people that's watching know what Turtle Island is or what the reference Turtle Island is.
All of the land they call Canada, all of the land they call the United States and Mexico, all of the islands that's in the Gulf of America, all of what we call South America, all of that collectively with Greenland makes up Turtle Island.
That's deep. And within Turtle Island, how does that tie back to the years before 1492? Because after, we know what happened when the invaders came, but can you kind of share the real, I guess, the real owners of the land and like who those people were? Some people may say the OLMECians, some people may say like who were the original people who were here prior to 1492?
The old Mississippians is the oldest tribe on the land the Washita D Dung the Mounger that Empress Verdiasi talk about, the mound builders. Those are the oldest people on the land. They look like me and you, but they the oldest people on the land, original caretakers of the land. We was the one that built Atlantis in the great civilization of the ancient times. We just had a nuclear holocaust that caused the last ice age prematurely, which gave us a artificial cycle under the age of Pisces. If the cycle is artificial, everybody is going to push us into an artificial construct of the truth. We call it the matrix.
Yes, sir.
You can't get out of the matrix unless you know the source of the matrix. It's in the mitochondria.
Yes, sir.
Right? And if it's in the mitochondria, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the DNA, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
this is the spirit of mama, because we can't get it from daddy. Much as daddy love us, he can't give us mitochondria. We can only get it from mama. So all of the people on the planet trace back to Isis and the 12 daughters, the 13 tribes, the 13 bloodlines. They all do mitochondrial adjustments, and they got different skin colors, and different hair textures and different hair colors that make up the spectrum of what we call humanity. These bloodlines of the daughters of Isis and Isis make up what we call the different races of people, but they're not different races. They different familial lines, and the concept of race has been given to us to separate us and make us fight for our enemy as if we was fighting for ourselves. I think you muted.
Okay, yeah. I was saying I'm not sure who Barrington Edwards is in the comments, but either you can turn all that down or I'm gonna turn you out. So you keep that up, we're gonna get you up out of here. So anyway, but with that, yeah, that's deep, bro. Like that's real deep. So I got a question from somebody in the tribe. They said, does Trump work for the Vatican?
Trump worked for the military.
That part. Yes, sir. Okay. And that's where, if we can kind of turn down that road.
You know they went in and they went into the Vatican. The military did a couple years back and got our gold back.
Well, and that's where I was gonna go, because that's part of what I was saying about the live I did Thursday. I talked about the Vatican being the stronghold of religion across the globe. You know what I'm saying? Then London and Buckingham Palace and them demons and devils over there being the financial, you know what I'm saying, so-called controllers of the currencies of the globe. And
that's almost right. That's almost right.
The White House.
So this how it worked. Religion is military strategy. That's the first thing you got to know. Religion has nothing to do with spirituality. Religion is military control the masses of people to elicit the least amount of resistance from the people you choose to oppress. You give them religion as the first wave. It's called the soft sell. If you look back through the history books, you'll see every time they get ready to conquer somebody, before they send in the guns and the bullets, they come with the soft sell of the religious dogma. Right? The Catholic Church is pulling the purse strings. He's just using Buckingham Palace as the diversionary hand. And then he's using DC as the enforcement arm. So one of them is for an illusion. The Buckingham Palace conjure is what they're using, that was given to Queen Victoria, I think was her name, by a guy named John Dee, on how to put us in a mass spell. We don't know about that stuff because it's not mainstream history, but it happened. The Catholic Church is the headquarters. It's the head of the beast, so to speak. And the Vatican is controlled out of Switzerland.
Right. And see,
And
that's why.
the people from Switzerland that control the Vatican is some black ass niggas.
Yes, sir. And that's what I was talking about in regards to the Black Pope. And that's why I said, like, it's crazy how the alignment is happening right now, because I've been talking about the Black Pope for a minute now, and people was like, you know, a lot of people never heard of that before. But all along, I'm like, yo, there's a Black Pope who's actually in charge pulling the strings. Like that one that we see, he's just a pawn. He's just a pet, literally. He's a pet. And so the one that's behind the scenes is the Wizard of Oz effect. So can you kind of break down who the black nobility is, or who those black people who control the Vatican? Can you kind of break down who those people are?
You remember they told us that the Moors entered the Iberian Peninsula in 711 and ruled over Europe for 700 years. That take us to 1411. This is around the time of something that they call the Inquisition. Right? In order to maintain control, they had to fall back from the forefront. Right? So when they took over Europe, why would they want to kick them out if they civilizers? Y'all got to ask that question, because they not gonna never volunteer to tell you, but if you ask the question, you can find the answer. Why, if they civilized the Caucasians or civilized Europe, as they say, why did they kick them out? What were they doing in Europe as a civilizer? Because you got to understand, a civilizer is a guide to the uncivilized. And when that God gives them civilization, they become devoted or a devotee. Right? So what would make the devotees rebel? What would make the subjects rebel? They was eating babies. They was having sex with babies. They was harnessing adrenochrome way back then. It's nothing new. So those are the people who is behind the Pope, the ones that remained in Europe in power positions. The grand illusion was to put the pale face out front. But we didn't know when they was saying the white man that legally the white man ain't even fucking white. Black's Law Dictionary 6th edition say that he a Moor. He's a Judean. He a Jew. And as long as we don't know that, they can keep pushing this pale face agenda to give them the semblance of power while they really wielding the power. As you say, the Wizard of Oz effect. Somebody put it in the comments. It's called a cat's paw. You put somebody else up to do your dirt so that you seem innocent when they get caught.
Woo! Yeah, this one of them ones, and we ain't even really got warmed up yet. Boy, no, for real, because listen, we can go so many places. Look, even the tribe said it might drop, because that right there, I knew this was gonna be one of them ones as soon as we locked it in, I knew, because that's not even something that goes on just in that sphere. That happens in all spheres. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with people who don't move with the right integrity or intentions. So with that, how that is, oh man, that's powerful. How do we see those people who are pulling the strings, who are the puppet masters for their pets? How and when do we see them be eradicated, or when do we see the fall of those dirty business dealers?
Look, some of us is the only ones allowed to take them out the game. Because of the level of wickedness that they was doing and the way they concealed themselves, I tell it like this. Pretty soon, a lot of really good people, really good men, gonna have to do some really violent shit to some really wicked people. It's gonna come, and it won't be no secret.
Yep, that part. And I think that's where, for me, it baffles me, because those people, them same people we talking about, they know that judgment day not only is coming, but it's here, and they know what the deal is. So now, with that being said, for all the people who, because I know there's people who might have never heard any of this before, there might be people this is the first time they're seeing this channel, all that. So for those people who might not know anything about what we're talking about, to break it down in like a first grader terms, who are those people? What do they control? And then where will we see the difference in our experience once that situation is eradicated?
What you mean when you say who are those people?
Like the people we're talking about that control the Vatican and control the current system.
It's the picture of the Pope kissing their feet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a secret. You can look it up.
Yep.
Them niggas that came over here called themselves conquistadors, Huguenots, and English gentry. That's as dark as me or darker. Hair just as nappy as mine. But when they rewrote history, they painted them as pale face. George Washington wasn't a pale face, unless you talk about Albert Pike and Adam Weishaupt. The real George Washington was from Barbados. They still got his memorial house, right? But they put this wooden tooth George Washington up as the icon of the country. That's not the real person, right? The real person was usurped. How do we know this? When they moved the capital from Philadelphia to DC, why did they do it? The Big Mama put a curse on Congress Hall. So if they try to do anything in there, their whole life start falling apart. So the secondary charter of the corporation known as the United States of America, I think it is, they was chartered as a business entity out of Washington, D.C. The military industrial complex is a name they got years later. I think it was in the 50s when they got that name. And when they named it military industrial complex, it was to let you know that this was the military of the Vatican complex. Just like London, all of them are enclaves. They city states. When you catch a case in DC, you automatically got to go to federal prison. Why? Because they're not recognized by any state. That means their state is fraudulent. Their presence is fraudulent. They don't belong here. The only problem is through miseducation and economic warfare. They put us in a position where we believe that they're legitimate government. That's Machiavellian, straight out of Uniform Commercial Code. All of they agents have to wear uniform at some point or another. Electric company, gas company, your mailman, your police officer, your fireman. They took the fire department, they took that from us. Because we had to put out all the fires they was setting to our buildings. That was us. We created the fire department. Right? Yeah, the dirty Moors. The righteous Moors is the ones who had to be called Moor to fight the fight against the dirty Moors. Yep, dirty Moors versus righteous Moors. And you got righteous Moors now that got tricked so good that they don't know that they got tricked. And I don't blame them for it, because it was a hard thing to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That's one of them things, excuse me. That's one of them things. Let me ask you this, because if I'm not mistaken, from my studies and research, are not the same, excuse me, people who control the Vatican, the same ones who kind of have the extended version into some of the sororities and the fraternities of the colleges. Is that the same? Are those the same people?
Okay, now you got to know the difference.
Okay.
All of the HBCUs come out of Prince Hall Freemasonry.
Mhm.
That was created by one of the chiefs
Okay.
and his staff that were Prince Hall Freemasons to combat the Scottish Rite.
I see.
Right. So when you read about it, it's come out as the War of the Roses, blue rose versus red rose, or sometimes they say red rose versus white rose. It come out as the War of the Lodges, red lodge versus the blue lodge, left hand path, right hand path in occultism. All these different sides is we fighting back by turnabout being fair play. Stuff that they use to oppress us, we took it, studied it, and then we rewrote it to use it for liberation. This is what Prince Hall was doing, but he went by himself. You know, we don't hardly ever mention Absalom Jones. He was just as instrumental in the founding of the Prince Hall Lodge. But if you don't read Prince Hall history, you won't know what he's doing.
Right.
Right. Now we had Noble Drew Ali came and went to the Moorish Zionist temple in New Jersey and found out the spells they was using. Once he found out the spells he was using, he wrote code, tribal code. We've been code talkers and code knockers. So when he put it in the literature seems bland to the regular man. But to the tribal leadership, it's phenomenal. He say stuff like, this was a clue he gave us. He said, I could count the amount of Moors that's going to make it on one hand and still have fingers left. Plural fingers left mean the most of them that's going to make it is 3. Right? Then another part, he say, the only thing that would surprise me was if a Moor would do right. Why would he say this as the founder of the Moorish Science Temple? Right? He leaving clues. He wrote about a religious controversy. Why would he write about that? Because they're using the religious controversy as a means to separate and divide up the people. The religious controversy is another aspect of divide and conquer. Then they had the skin color. Skin color racism didn't really take hold until the 1800s and the Ellis Island immigration.
Ooh-wee. Yeah, boy.
The purpose of the Ellis Island immigration was this, because the Turtle Island, the Americas took in orphans from all over the world ever since the earth been here. So they was using pale faces and a brown paper bag test to keep us out of the institutions of learning, finance, the institutions of health. We had to pass their test. So they put pale faces out front. So Big Mama said, okay, turnabout being fair play, invite them all. All the ones they don't want in Europe, invite them all, the pale faces over here, because we're going to overrun their institution with so many pale faces that the friendly pale faces is going to tell us what they doing. Because they did it in Europe already, so they going to tell on them. Because they wanted them out of Europe. That's what they had the Inquisition and the French Revolution was all about. They wanted them out. Now, when they get over here, Noble Drew Ali say, listen to the European, because I'm going to make him tell you the truth. He quoting Big Mama.
Woo! Yes, sir. So for the people, I should say for the tribe, can you quote, because I think Big Mama could mean multiple things depending on where someone is at in their journey. So can you?
Okay, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it a couple of different ways. From spiritually alone, Big Mama is prime creator. All of creation is in her womb, right? The tribal structure, every tribe have a tribal mother, and all of the tribal mothers have a senior tribal mother. On this land, she is referred to as the Big Mama, right? And in every family, you have a Big Mama, a Muddia, a Nana, which is a family matriarch, because we are matriarchal people. But we keep getting stuck believing that this patriarchal bullshit gonna tell us the truth, and it ain't gonna never tell us the truth.
That part. That's facts. Big facts. So when you talk about like Big Mama, and especially when we're talking about the Turtle Island aspects, what is the connection? What's the Kemetic Turtle Island connection when we talk, especially because that's something I've been talking about on the channel as well, about like especially like the Grand Canyon, and, like, the history of the Grand
We created Egypt. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is where you will find Thoth telling you that he left over here to Atlantis to go settle Egypt, Kemet. He didn't call it Egypt, he called it Kim. Right? The original that's a replica of is the Grand Canyon has the oldest temple of Isis on the planet. It got the oldest temple of Osiris on the planet. And the oldest temple of Tahuti is in Mexico. These are the temples that created all of the priesthoods of the world that was originally all female. That's why they are dressed in drag right now and calling themselves a priest.
Yeah, boy, we going in tonight. Now that we already here, we already at the tipping point. Can we get into the mounds and the significance of the mounds? Because that's another thing that's been talked about, you know, in regards to how many mounds are here and how significant. Let's just say Kohikia. I mean, there's a lot of them, but what is the significance of the mounds that are here in Turtle Island versus the mounds that are in Kemet or any other place in the world?
Imagine this. You got a person that's walking around so powerful that just walking past you, the energy is overwhelming. These people, we call them the great ones, the ancient ones. In all of these mounds you see, they either set the mound up as a site to draw from their energy, or a group of elders that laid their physical body to rest, built a mound over them to radiate that energy. These pyramids have a unique energy conversion capability, and the mounds is the precursor to the pyramid. There's more mounds and pyramids in the Americas than anywhere else in the world, contrary to popular opinion. Everybody think that they started somewhere else. They don't know the Garden of Eden and the Fertile Crescent is the area today that we call the Gulf. From the Mississippi River all the way around to the Amazon basin. That was the Fertile Crescent. That's where man originated from. The out of Africa theory is just that, a theory. But if you don't know bloodlines and you don't know the way that they told the story is upside down and backwards, you ain't gonna never put it together. You had David Copperfield talking about he finna make a jet disappear. You going on your way there and it tell you on the poster the greatest illusion you ever seen. You get there and you standing there in Vegas looking at this big old jet, and he put the tarp up, dropped the tarp, and you say, oh my God, he did make the jet disappear. The jet ain't went no goddamn where. He just made it appear that way to you. Just like they say they stole our land, but every time I look out the window, I see my land. That don't make no sense to me when the key part of theft is concealment. You can't seal all this land to Turtle Island. It's too much land. And they Supreme Court already ruled that they don't own the land.
That's another part that I wanted to ask you about. So there was something that I saw in the other interview that I was watching from last week with Young Elder, where you was talking about, I believe it was something in regards to the Vatican. I don't know what it was, but it was like an agreement or something that had to do with like what 100 and something million acres of land or 200 something. It was a crazy number, but do you remember what I'm talking about in regards to that particular?
I'm not exactly sure what part you're talking about, but this is what the Turtle Island, the commission to colonize us and conquer us was given by the Pope under the white man's burden called the Doctrine of Discovery. According to the definition of white man's burden, it was to convert all of the heathens to become Christians. Tracing the Christians back to their origin, Constantine said that his purpose for calling the Nicene Council establishing the church was crowd control. He needed a means to control the people indefinitely, and the closest thing he found was back then what he called cult leaders today. They was different heretics that became the high priest that was called to the Nicene Ecumenical Council to establish a common foundation and doctrine by which he would use to conquer. It had nothing to do with saving your soul and stopping you from going to hell, which came from the writings of Dante's Inferno and the history of a place called Gehenna in the city of where they used to execute criminals. But we don't know that stuff because we think hell is a place that you go after you die. Hell is on earth. Hell is on earth because they're using the system, a Hellenistic system of warfare. The first place they conquered was Greece under the Alexander, who said his father was Zeus. And Zeus is Enlil. And Enlil is a Sumerian deity who had a son named Ninursin. Ninursin wrote something called money magic, sex magic, and blood magic. And these are what we call sin rites. So anybody that practices sin rites is a sinner. And they tell you that in the sin rites is you going about your life making mistakes, you committed a sin. That's not a sin. But when you go in there and take your Eucharist and eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, that's a Babylonian simulated reinforcement of a spell called Kingu.
Yes, sir.
Consume a god in order to suppress your god that's in you. It's sorcery. Yeah. It's simple sorcery.
Yeah. That's deep. That's real deep because now we got to give a shout out to the master teacher, Dr. York, and a shout out to Dr. Blair and there's so many others that I feel like paved the way for me to get to this point where I'm at to even have this conversation. But Dr. York is the one who I first learned about a lot of what we're talking about now, especially when we talk about Kingu, the sleep spell. So can you kind of share a little bit or go a little bit more in depth into like how that spell is related to what we're dealing with now also, and then like how do the Canaanites also tie into that spell with Kingu?
The Canaanites is also victims of that spell.
Okay. So can you share a little bit about
Kingu was what you call a mass conjure. The mass conjure required you to they call it sacrifice. I call it murder. Murder one of the righteous ones and write a contract in his blood. Once the contract is written in his blood, all of the righteous people will follow the contract through to its end. The Kingu spell was written to last for 6,000 years. This spell was reinforced later in Egypt in the 18th dynasty during the priest wars, where the Amun priest and the Aten priest was fighting to determine if the gods or the ancient ones should be seen by regular people. The Amun priests say that it's too dangerous under Kingu for the gods to be seen by regular people, so we should be concealed. And we should teach them all to conceal themselves. The word Amen literally translates into English as the unknown. Applied to your religious practices, it becomes a self-imposed conjure that tells the inner deity not to express itself in the outer world, and the parameters of the conjure is the cause. Why did they do it? So the gods cannot be seen by regular people. Why did they want the gods to be seen by the regular people? Because under the spell of Kingu, regular people see a god becomes aggressive and volatile because it's a side effect of being under this spell. The third spell we under is the Crispus Attucks sacrifice spell, first blood. This was what John Dee taught the Queen of England about controlling us for 400 years. Because he knew that it couldn't go beyond the close of the age, that's why he told her she had only a certain amount of time for it to be in effect. They finally, at the American Revolution, when they killed Crispus Attucks, they wrote the secondary constitution in his blood. This is what made the Big Mama put the curse on Congress Hall in protest. This is what made them move D.C., the capital, from Philadelphia to D.C. Before Philadelphia, the oldest capital was always the N.O., New Orleans. All immigrants had to come through the port of New Orleans and be assessed by the people in New Orleans in order to determine where would they fit in the land without causing disruption. And they wrote the secondary constitution in Crispus Attucks' blood. This is why they always emphasize that he was the first nigga to die in the American Revolution as the first person to die in the American Revolution. If you want to see the Constitution written in his blood, they keep it at the George Washington Masonic Memorial just outside D.C. I think it's in Virginia. So that's what the spells is.
Woo. Yeah, boy, we lighting this thing up tonight. Shout out to, I think it's Chata Healer in the comments. Yeah, it's not about ego. I'm a child of the universal prime creator. So therefore, I'm not attached to any religion, any clique, anything. Like, I am a spirit having a God child having a human experience. I came here to serve, and that's what I'm doing. So I get what you're saying, but it's bigger than that. It's about what we're doing now. So I don't really want to give that too much more time, but I appreciate the love and support.
That was a good comment though, because it's tied directly to how you need to break away from these spells.
Right, and that's what I was sharing. That's why I was sharing that. So let me put the comment up too, just so that way we keep it.
Yeah, so they can see it.
But yeah, I get it though. But I get what they're saying though. But what we're doing here, none of that is involved with this. None of that. This channel is involved with that, because ultimately this is about the elevation, the healing, and the information being delivered to the people who are the righteous people of the universal prime creator, that is who I am a child of, and that's who I'm going to serve. So that's what this is about, just to be clear on that. But the name of the channel came from Spirit, and that's why that's the name, and that's why I'm not going to change it. But anyway, I don't want to. I can't find it because there's so many comments in there. But I don't want to disrupt the show with that that coming up. But with that, so when we talk about Turtle Island, right, and we talk about Big Mama, what is the connection to, when we start really going deep into antiquity and start talking about the ancients? What is the connection to Turtle Island, Atlantis, and Lemuria, and also Atlanta? Is there any significance?
Okay. Atlantis wasn't called Atlantis. It was called the Atlan, Atlan. Okay. Atlantis became Atlantis because of the writings of Plato. In the Greek, they added the suffix with the tis to the end of it because of the way that the Latin language was written. but it's called the Atlan. The Atlan was capital was Arizona, Grand Canyon, where the great temples are. The history of it is still present in there, but they have it it's a militarized zone because they have temple gates to take you to other temples around the world. In Arizona was the headquarters. So this I lost my train of thought.
No, that's all good. you in regards to like the connection with the like we're going into antiquity.
Oh yeah, so America was the capital of Atlantis. Lemuria was like a subdivision. That's what today we call Antarctica or Tartaria. Tartaria is a fairly recent term in that it's a Roman term. Tartaria means west of Rome, right? And they gave that as another name for the people that lived across the water west of Rome. But remember, they in the Mediterranean Sea, so they confusing where they at with what's west of Rome across the ocean through the Pillars of Hercules.
So now with that, oh man, that's deep. How does the OLMEC play a role into all of what we're talking about now when we talk about
they from a different timeline and a different cycle. So all of those OLMEC, Inca, Maya, today they known as Old Mississippians. But it's the same people, different time frame, different eras, but the same people. Right? And we had all skin colors over here before 1492. And we didn't have racism before 1492. Everything that you see belligerent, when I say belligerent, I mean that it's against the nature of who we are. Everything you see that's belligerent to us as a tribal people came after 1492. We living in a foreign construct. We living under an occupied territory occupied by foreign forces masquerading as the people of the land. We didn't sign them damn treaties. I don't see Chief Little River on none of them treaties. I don't see Chief Running Bear, Chief Standing Bear, Chief Black Bear, Chief Red Hawk. I don't see none of them names on none of them treaties. Who the hell signing them? Our names was tied to nature because we was tied to nature. We didn't take on other names until foreigners came and imposed their concept of our culture on us the way they want us to express ourselves. When they tell you something is pagan, that means it goes all the way back to Pangea. That's what pagan means. Right? When they call a woman a witch, they saying she a wise woman and you can't run that shit on her. But we don't know this because they villainize words through negative press. Right? Before gangs was bad, we had our gang known as the Little Rascals. Gang mean tribe. Look it up. Do the etymology. Gang mean tribe. They just use it and attached it to every nefarious act of warfare going on in the hood to make you think that the tribes is not the tribes. We ain't never went nowhere. They bust us up. We reconstituted. It's just like when you, what's them robots, when they break them apart, then they all form back together again. That's all we did. We transformed in front of their face. We got the same symbols we've been had for thousands of years. That's how we identify each other. You ain't gonna join no so-called tribe or gang, or whatever they want to call them, that doesn't hold fundamental values that you can relate to. That's the allure, the attraction. The tribe have to move according to how the tribes always move. Crip walking ain't new. It was remembered and reperformed. All crip walking is Tookie walking with the chains on his ankle through the death row, dead man walking, crooked man on the lane. You see, they didn't electrocute him because that shit wouldn't have did nothing but made him stronger. So they froze him in Area 51.
Woo! We about to go in now, buddy. We about to go in. So now, what you just said, I love that. What you just said, where does that play into the demonic so-called, I guess, power or extraction of power that some of these other beings or these people, like for example, the Skull and Bones Society, don't they have like the real skull and bones of, was it Amaru?
It was Geronimo. It was Geronimo's skull and his femur bones.
Yes, sir. Can you kind of break that down into where we're about
The
to go?
Skull and Bones came over here as pirates.
The
Skull and Bones came over here as pirates, and their counterpart is in Oxford. I think it's Oxford University. It's called the Scroll and Key. The Scroll and Key is the law and the key to the law. What we call it legalese today. That's the law, and the key to the law is understanding the. If you go to a law book, it'll show you in each case you read something called the law key. It's going to explain the law. So this who George Herbert Walker Bush was the highest ranked member on the Western Hemisphere, and that's why his ass got fried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're the ones that made the CIA too. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
They made it was called something else before that. I think it was because it broke up into two factions. One of them became the CIA, the other one became the FBI.
Yep. There you go. The alphabet boys.
Right. I think it was called like the SAS or the SSO or something like that. State Security Organization or something like that. Right. But they always been here.
Right.
They've been here since Columbus came. Right. The story of the colonies don't start to the 1600s. We've been fighting this war. We was fighting this war in the 1500s. Let that sink in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's deep. And you know, I'm gonna tell you, like, in preparation for this show, I've been thinking about all different ways of places I want to go. One of the things that me personally, I feel like has been kind of like in my spirit is, of course, 1804. A lot of people don't know the significance of 1804 and the Haitian Revolution. I'm going to kind of switch lanes a little bit, but because I want to kind of try to paint a global perspective, but also tie into historical concepts, right? So when you talk about 1804 and the Haitian Revolution and Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Dudley Boukman and all them who, you know, were the forerunners to lead the victory of that revolution, where do you see, because for me personally, I feel like I'm seeing the real life like resurrection of the Jean-Jacques Dessalines energy in Ibrahim Traore. So like, do you see any like similarities or comparisons into like what we're witnessing when we see what we're witnessing with Burkina Faso right now? And then how does that, if to you, it ties in any way, shape, form, or fashion to 1804?
Okay, the Haitian Revolution is very significant to our liberation. We got to keep an eye on Haiti because the last shall be made first.
And the first shall be made last.
So the revolution that was put together there, we had to look at where did they go after they won? Where did the soldiers go with their bloodlust? Where did the priests go to work their conjure? When you look at the expatriation following the Haitian Revolution, most of the people that left went to two places. The soldiers went to Florida, and the priests and priestesses went to New Orleans. Now, the question is, they just won a revolution, and all of the fighting soldiers is going to Florida, and all of the conjure people was going to New Orleans. What could possibly be the reason for that? Right? Why would they do that? So what was going on in Florida that triggered the Haitians that left the revolution to go to Florida? Gullah War. We was in the middle of Gullah Wars. So why would the sorcerers, the conjurers, the root workers, why would they go to New Orleans? New Orleans, the Big Easy, is the capital of the conjure. They tell you that in all of your horror movies. This is where all of the counteroffensives to these sorcery spells was put into effect to fight back. Most of us don't know that conjure magic in the colonial period was just as big as law writing. We don't know that because we don't study conjure magic, because they told us voodoo was evil and you had to be a good Christian. The only ones of us that continue to keep the secrets is AME Church kept them for a long time. They masqueraded as a church to teach the root work in the back. Right? And then that's how you got a lot of root workers that matriculated into the church and other denominations. But we was trying to figure out how to fight back the sorcery with sorcery. They didn't want us studying voodoo because to use the practices of voodoo would liberate you from the conjurer John D. Let that sink in.
Yeah, boy. I knew this was gonna be one of them ones. Good. Yeah, this is definitely one of them ones. Man, listen.
Look, I put a post up back in 2019. It said, if they ask you what Rod doing about this, tell them voodoo.
Yes, sir.
I put black girl magic on everything I do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and most sir. And listen, and that's the thing. Like, I always do my best to pay homage to the feminine energy. I meant to do it before we started, but we jumped right in and jumped in hot. But shout out
we
to
can pause and we can pause for you to pay homage to the feminine energy. I totally support that.
Well, let's do it because we need to take a break anyway, because you burning down the whole damn YouTube right now. So with that, I did want to, give a honor and respect and praises to the mothers, especially in regards to the significance of what we're dealing with right here, from the cosmic level to, like I said, to the planetary level, to even the internal level. But the mother, being the cosmic mother, being the mother that gives birth to all things, I wanted to just give thanks. When we talk about ancient Kemet, we talking about Ma'at, we're talking about Aset, we're talking about the mother of the feminine divine, principles, and Ifa. We're talking about we're talking about Ma'at. We're talking about Imoja. We're talking about the Odu. We're talking about Oya, Oshun. It's like Nana Baruku. There's so many different feminine aspects to the Odu. Odu is a feminine aspect to the creation of our people. So we got to give shout outs and things to the mothers. Shout out to all my mothers, even the ones in the realm of the ancestors, because without them, we're not here today. And so shout out to also Empress, Verdidici, because without her and the work that she did, I don't know if the significance of what the work you're doing has the same amount of weight and effect, without her laying the foundation and doing what she did in regards to, the ancient ones and Washita. So, and even with Washita, is with that and honor and thanks and Mudupwe to the mothers and the feminine energy with Washita. Is there any connection from Washita to Washington? What is it, if there is? What is that connection?
The name Washington is a derivative of Washita. The Washington last name is carried over from Washita Indian, right? The Shaw last name is the carryover from Shoshone. The Upshaw last name is the carryover from the Upper Shoshone. The Hayes last name is the adaptation of Haya, which is Hayoka, which is a high priest of a specific order that has a specific role to play anytime that the land becomes compromised. We compromised. So now you see a Hayoka but they think that the name is Hayes. It's Haya. It's Hayes. Hayas. But when you spell it in English, instead of Hayas, right, you spelling it Hayes, because all vowels are interchangeable in translation under Grimm's Law of Grammar. And in order for you to get the pronunciation that the translator used, he can change the vowel to put the emphasis on what part of the word should be spoken. I just identified a few tribes for y'all, by the way.
Yes, yeah, man. Yeah, this is dope. This is real dope. So now, yeah, this is wow. This is powerful. So now, when we talk about the divine energy, right, and the creation aspects of that, being that we're going through this shift, and especially from the solar level, how does all of this play into us transitioning from this Piscean age into the Aquarian age? That is, going back from the patriarchal control into the matriarchal, cycle.
Okay, so according to the George Washington Challenge, we had 200 years to educate ourselves above the condition, right? So coming up on the conclusion of that is the age of knowledge, the age of knowing. We are transitioning from an age of belief, where they gave us stuff to believe in that didn't serve any purpose for us, right? Shout out to our mothers, all the mothers. I'm a matriot, not a patriot. I follow the matriarchy. I'm the chosen one to reiterate the structure of the matriarchy so the women can wake up from the slumber, because they more important than anybody else, because they the ones that's gonna spark the fire, the light to the new age by them waking up. They mitochondrial resonance is going to cause something called Atlas shrug. And that's when the earth gonna shake off the parasites.
Ooh, listen, and that's what I was talking about Thursday night on that live, is getting rid of them parasites. So in the last segment or section, I forgot, and let me give that shout out. Shout out to Wunam, who came and burned it down last night. She's also a child of the Iami and the IJ. So I want to make sure I give a shout out and salute to those mothers as well, because those are some very powerful forces. So with that, I'm ready to dive back in, Big Rod. So this is dope. So okay, where did we go with reclaiming like ownership and sovereignty over Turtle Island from where we are right now?
So right now, we just have to continue to educate the public about what's taking place. And if you pay attention, you will see the transition of power, the old system being dismantled for a new system to emerge. They first have to destroy the old system before the new system power is activated. This is something that's already done. We just have to make public knowledge, because the more tribesmen aware, then the more of us that can stand in our own power, and we change the frequency by becoming our best version of us. And to become our best version of us, we need a sense of remembering who we were. We need to know who bumped us upside the head and made us lose our mind, right? So once we get to seeing it, and you have people like us just trying to explain it in the simplest terms as possible, then doing our part is to inform the public, and then we don't have to worry about somebody else's part if we all do our own part, because everybody got a part to play. But some people's part is just bigger than others because they're more qualified than others. And some people's is smaller because they less qualified, but it don't make them less important. Ain't no big eyes and no little U's. It's all about us together waking up saying, no, we do not consent to be controlled and be enslaved in this artificial construct masquerading as our government. It's all about awareness at this point because it's happening. You just need to be aware to know what's happening.
And that's facts. I say, and that's deep too, because now you said something that to me it kind of relates to. I know a lot of people been going crazy in a hoopla, in a tizzy over this movie, The Sinners, because of the symbolism, which there was a lot of symbolism in it. So what you just said, does that kind of tie into like the vampires like wanting to, or I should say, needing to be asked to come in? You know what I'm saying? Like, because they couldn't come in without somebody asking them to come in. But to me, that sounds like kind of like they won't give us, or I should say, we don't take our land until we take our land by doing what you just said in regards to us owning and being who and what we are.
So the vampires don't need permission to come in. They need permission to come indoors into an enclosure. But you can bump into one on the street and he don't need your permission to fuck you up.
Yeah, so that sound like the them boys, the alphabet boys. Now, in regards to that, I remember we was talking about some good guys are gonna have to pretty much fuck up some bad people.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned that, can you kind of like tap into, like go into it a little bit deeper into regards of like what that looks like, or at least like what that kind of personifies?
It's just what it say. It didn't cut no corners. So we told this story about righteousness versus wickedness, good versus evil. Our whole life, every movie that we seen, we always chose the resistance. We always chose the side of the innocent and the righteous. We rarely ever choose the side of the wicked. That's your nature. Now, they gave us villains and painted them as the righteous. That's called an imposter. He's masquerading as the righteous. They told us Batman was a superhero, but we didn't know he was a schizophrenic having a schizoid episode, and all of his arch enemies was his counter selves that he was fighting all the time. He wasn't roaming the streets of Gotham. He was locked up in Arkham Asylum. But in his mind, he was roaming the streets of Gotham, fighting his alternate identities as the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin. And this is the way that they take stuff and turn it around to confuse us.
Woo! Yeah, that's deep. That's real deep, because now, okay, man, I'm glad you went there. So now, with you saying that, let me ask you this: have you seen the movie X-Men Apocalypse?
With Thanos?
I don't know if that was. I think that was the Avengers with Thanos, because I didn't see that one, but it made so much new noise. I
Oh no,
heard.
X-Men Apocalypse was the one where Magneto was fighting the Egyptian guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. So I would. Did you see that one?
Yep.
Okay, now I talked about that many times on this show too. When I saw that movie, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like they showing some real deal. Like they showing the real deal. With that, what you just said prior to me asking that question, you said it's like them flipping the script and trying to make us think in one way when it's really the other way. They did that with X-Men Apocalypse. They showed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a lot of ancient Kemetic truths, you know, that was going on with what they showed. But the only difference is they made the God out to be the bad guy, you know what I'm saying, that they had to get rid of.
The
So
guy is always the bad guy they got to get rid of because he come to set the record straight.
can you tap into what that is and how that relates to what's happening now?
Yeah, I can tell you what go a little more important part of the story.
Let's get it.
When the guy woke up, what was the first thing he need for his power to activate? Do you remember?
It was a transference of consciousness, wasn't it?
He needed a woman.
Mm-mm.
Remember? Go back to the movie.
It's been a
Remember the
little
lady?
since I've seen it, so I got to watch it again. But I just remember when I watched it, I'm like, yo, they showing some real deal stuff in this movie, like for real.
No male god can have power on Earth until a woman give it to him.
I sure. Now,
We ruler gods. We not creator gods.
Yes, sir. And that goes back to even like the royal bloodline or the royalty on the throne. You can't, as a male, we can't sit on the throne without coming through the matriarchal bloodline. Is that correct?
Yeah. The king, the queens make the king.
I should.
You need a kingmaker.
Yes, sir.
If you don't find the kingmaker, you won't never get to be the king. Right? Isis got to go find the parts of Osiris and put his ass back together in order for Heru to know what his daddy was like to replace the throne. It ain't no secret. It ain't no secret. But the only secret about it is that they got us believing that the men make queens. The men posted, that's patriarchy.
I just gonna say it. That goes back to the Vatican and the Papal. That whole.
But under patriarchy, all of their queens been drag queens. Go back and look at their pictures. I ain't making this up. For all the way up to the office of the president, I think only a couple of the presidents actually had a woman for a wife.
Oh, yes, sir. So listen, we're going all the way in. I didn't want to go just to the Barack thing yet. And before we even go into what
let's go to George H.W. Bush and Big Buddy. They called him Barbara, but his name was Big Buddy when he played football. It ain't no the Statue of Liberty is a drag queen. Gave to us by friends to tell us that we being ran by drag queens that hate women.
Man, listen.
And I don't care about nobody's personal life. I don't care if you choose to sleep with a hairy ass man in your bed. That ain't got nothing to do with me because I'm not gonna be there. And you can't get me to come because that ain't my lane. Right? But for the people that it is, I don't care. I'm just telling you what they was using to oppress us. They was using cross-dressers to masquerade as matriarchs to trick us into believing that the matriarchs was under some kind of demented rage of power. No, it was all drag queens. It wasn't no women. Look, the flip side of patriarchy is feminism. That's the other side of the coin. Most of your feminine Barbara singing all them, they cross dressers.
Hillary Clinton. What was his name or whatever that thing's name? That one?
Hillary was an actual female, but she was being controlled by the old man Bush.
Okay.
Her CIA code name is Evergreen because her job was transporting minors and cargo containers from all around the world to the Americas. Bill Clinton's CIA code name is the Snowman because he was bringing all that cocaine into Arkansas. Barack Obama, his CIA code name is the Jackal. The Jackal is the patron saint of Kenya. He said he was born in Kenya.
Yeah, boy. We definitely got a hot one on our hands tonight, buddy. Yeah, you talking about a block party, boy. We burning it down, man. This is the third one, the 3-peat. So now, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna go there. So Barack, because I know about cloning. I know you know about cloning. And I also know that a lot of us, I think, don't take it serious as to how real cloning is. So being a student of Dr. York, me personally, I know that's a real thing. I know how deep it goes. But can you kind of tap into how cloning plays an effect with what we're seeing in this circus that we call the U.S. government and some of their past presidents?
You ever heard of Operation Paperclip? Yes,
sir.
Well, the Third Reich had acquired the scrolls for genetic manipulation that we call cloning. And in this process, after World War II, they went to Brazil and they went to Argentina to set up a breeding program. They call it the Boys from Brazil. The false narrative is that they were cloning little Adolf Hitlers. That's not who they was cloning. They were cloning Akhenaten, who we get Barack Obama from. The Boys from Brazil, they went and made 50 clones of Akhenaten, and most of them they killed doing experiments on them. So it's only a handful of them left, but it's more than one or two. It's like 5 or 6, and they use them as each other's doubles when they going through certain stuff. The cloning the Akhenaten was to deprive Tutankhamun from his right to claim the throne, which is the boy king. The boy king came to us as Tupac Amaru, aka the reincarnation of King Tut, who was coming to get his throne. And whenever the one who's the rightful heir is being undermined, they have to call a superior elder to the forefront to give them their shit. I want my shit back. So in the terms of the Orisha, Tupac is my Legba. I'm his Ogun. He opened the path and I'm kicking down the door. Now we can go through some voodoo clues to help you figure it out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Haitian Jack told Tupac, and this is a Haitian Jack interview I'm quoting him from. If you do your performance for 22 months, it's going to take 22 years before you see the result. The marker is on the song, I think it's Outlaw with Lil Rara at 11, which gave rise 22 years later to an emperor, Haile Selassie, come to us as Gangsta Nip. When the emperor can't enforce the reign of the king, then the emperor got a call on the god. It's the rank. Everybody get a chance to solve the problem until the problem solver get here. So now we come to solve the problem. Tupac said in his jailhouse interview, if you think that I'm a problem, wait till this next dude come.
Yes, sir. And that goes back to, I ain't saying I'm the one who gonna change the world, but I guarantee you I'm gonna be the spark.
I sparked the brain that changed the world.
And boy, when I tell you we here now. Because it ain't just one brain. It ain't just one.
So they keep asking me about having mercy on these motherfuckers. I got the same mercy they did when they was cutting babies out of women's stomach throughout the South. I got the same amount of mercy they had when they was setting niggas on fire. I got the same amount of mercy they had when they was putting chokeholds on brothers in L.A. When they was shooting them down in the back in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Boston, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas. I got the same amount of mercy for all of them. I got the same amount of mercy for them that they had for us when they was doing that to us. I don't got none. I got the same amount of mercy. If they want me to know what do I want to do with them? Line their ass up. I'm going to pull the guillotine because I want their blood on my hands. Because they didn't got enough sisters' blood, they bloody hands across her face. That native movement ain't no haphazard shit. That's because the one with the bloody hand was trying to conceal the woman's voice. So every time they do something to one of them sisters, in order to let you know that we know who the black hand is, with your black gloves saturated with the red blood of the original organic people of the land. Right? I don't got no mercy for them. That's how much mercy I got for them. So when Tupac said he ain't gonna have no mercy, just turn about fair play. I'm gonna feel as bad for you as you felt for me when you had your foot on my neck. It ain't personal. It's just business. It's family business. So I just take family business personal.
Ooh. Yes, sir. Yeah. And shout out to my Pop Shrine. I lit him up earlier, and because I wrote a children's book called Starseeds, and the two children's main characters was Malik and Amaru. One was for Malcolm, and the other one was for Pop. And that's powerful. Like, oh my God, that's powerful, because that goes back to the Dessalines energy.
Yeah, look, my outlaw name is Morpheus Hitler, the bitch nigga cleanser.
Say it again for the people in the back.
My outlaw name is Morpheus Hitler, the bitch nigga cleanser. So we here to get the bitch ass niggas out the game. What Pac tell you when he was all informing us about Death Row East? He say, we just trying to get the imposters out now. We already checkmated their ass 3 years ago. It's 25, 26 years now. They been checkmated. We just had to get the imposters out. The frauds.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we here now. We in tonight, buddy. It's a combination of Ogun and Shango energy in here tonight. Like, this is dope. I knew this was. I swear to God, I felt like this interview was gonna be like the it was like when Pop came home, when Big Shug came and got him out. I felt like this interview was gonna be that, and I swear on everything I love, if it ain't no less than that, because that's what this is. Like, that's what this is.
Look,
like,
it's 5 sisters of the Califia. It's 5 sisters of the Califia. They all point a bear. All the 5 sisters are pointing a bear. That is your West Coast defenders. Sugar Bear, Big Shug, the Red Bear. Right? I'm not in California to know who the other ones are, but they there. They OGs now. They the ones that's telling the YGs, hey, we ain't finna do that dumb shit. You're not gonna go rob no liquor store. We're gonna get 1,000 motherfuckers and run up in Nordstrom and hit their ass in the pockets, make their insurance pay them. Exploit the law and use it to our benefit. So when the Califia queens reconstitute the replica of the Califia castle, we call it the Disney castle, because we don't know that that's the replica that the Spanish Armada bombed into oblivion where Alcatraz is at. So I'm telling it.
Yeah, boy. All right. Well, real quick, because we definitely going hot and hard. To take a quick breath, because the comments is going crazy. I can't even keep up with that. Shout out to T-Mac 305. I'm gonna bring you up too. Said Chief Pontiac in the building. Yeah, Chief Pontiac definitely in the building and burning it down too. Can you kind of, before we go into like the next phase, because it's a lot. Okay, so can you kind of break down Queen Califia and like where California came from, for those who might not know, because I know there's a lot of people on here that do, but a lot of people I'm pretty sure don't know. So can you kind of break down the ties between Queen Califia and the state of California?
Queen Califia is the matriarch. It was a collection of 5 of them. It wasn't just one. It was 5 Califia queens, but the eldest was the senior. She's the one that's on the crest for California from the tribes. And they are the ones who everything west of the Rocky Mountains from Alaska all the way going into Mexico, that's their territory. They champion is Tupac. He always been from the time he was Tupac Amaru all the way back to when he was Tut in Arizona. They war with the Califia queens is given to us as fictional writings, right? So that we won't never believe that the story of Wonder Woman is the story of Califia. If you pay attention to the story of Wonder Woman, her sister is a sister. Make it make sense. Her sister is a sister because they wanted to pretend that it was a such thing as a white man. Ain't no such thing as no white man for real. That's a royal status of European nobility. Anybody that's a practitioner of them wear they jewels on their lapel to show you that they work for the black nobility. But they black nobility because they conceal, they stealthy, they in stealth mode, but they the white man.
Yep.
In Spain, they was called conquistadors. In France, they was called Huguenots. In England, they was called gentry, your royal families of Europe. The ones that ruled Europe from 711 to 14 something, right? Then they got kicked out, finally got kicked out in 1493 or 94. After Columbus made his voyage, they was all being rounded up and shipped to something called Al-Maghrib, which today is Morocco, Tunis, and Libya. And from there, they launched an attack by order of the Pope, and they went around South America to attack the West Coast, right? That was De Soto. And they bombed the castle because the women wouldn't do business with them because they didn't want them here. And they called them some selfish bitches and they blew the motherfucker down. They had to build a replica. So Walter Disney was responsible to build the replica. So he built the replica. And what it looked like is just like the Disney castle, but it was a real castle. And they went from bombing it, turning it into a military outpost. Then they converted the military base into a prison. Then they shut it down because the spirits was walking. I mean, it's the history. It's just who we are. Right? Yep. Turn the capital into a prison. They love all our castles. If you look at the prisons around the country, they are castles repurposed to be a prison. Whether it's Jackson, whether it's Pontiac, Illinois, whether it's Stateville, Illinois, what's the one on the bay in California? Look at the prisons. They turn all of our castles into prisons, state buildings, and mental institutions.
Yeah, that's deep.
It's because they was trying to claim after the Lewis and Clark expedition, they claimed we didn't have no royalty on the land. But that's because we all was going to fight in the Gullah Wars in Florida. So while we going south and east, they going north and west. Go look at the map.
Yeah.
Go look at the travel path of Lewis and Clark, because the main chiefs all over the land was en route because the Big Mama, who was from the Gullah Geechee community in the Carolinas, called us to war. We know who called us. Because we know who is the only person that can call all tribes on deck. Big Mama, the only one. The only one. We not going to move for nobody else. And if Big Mama call us and we don't want to go, our Big Mama for our tribe going to say, you going to get your ass over there and fight.
Big Chief, listen, can we talk about Gullah Geechee and that little section right there and how that ties into what we're talking about tonight?
So those people, they call them Gullah Geechee, but we also had people called Getty Geechee. But all of these is later terms applied to us. And when the Gullah Wars was going on, the Spanish called them Seminole Wars. We call them Gullah Wars because we know who called us to war. And they call them Seminole War from the word Seminoles. They say it means runaway, but the root word is semi, which means half, which means that the tribes was a mixed breed of people that they was talking about. The runaway slave, when they show you that famous picture of the brother standing next to the Mongolian was the runaway slave, not the nappy-head dude. They was brought over originally as indentured servants from the slave villages from years of fighting Mongolians and Huns in Vedics of the Roman Empire. They created slave villages for their captives to live in. And then when they got kicked out of Europe, they brought them with them. And then in the Trail of Tears, they switched us out. They sent them to Indian school to teach them our stuff. Go look at a picture of the old Indian schools and zoom in on them babies. Them not no goddamn pale faces. They Asians.
Shout out to Mama V. I was just talking to her about that tonight. Let me ask you this real quick. Oh my God, this is dope. So Whew, man. All right. So let me ask you this, because I'm not 100% sure, but something you said, it kind of, to me, it kind of clicked that it might be some correlation. So when you said, I think you said something about Attila the Hun and like the battles and the wars and all that, is Attila the Hun or whatever that's called, like, does that have something to do with Genghis Khan and like with him and his
Attila the Hun was a Hun. Genghis Khan was Mongolian. Those are two different bloodlines. Those are two different bloodlines of Asians.
But I know Genghis Khan had a lot of children, like a lot of children,
like 5,000.
Yeah, so that's why I was wondering if any of that had anything to do with like tying into what we're talking about now.
It's directly tied. It's a book called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun.
Mm.
In that book, he talk about the student exchange program that they signed in the peace treaty with the Romans, and the leader of each country would send their sons to go learn from the other country, right? If you study the history of Genghis Khan, he was stopping the beastie hordes from the West from invading in to what is known as Siberian Peninsula today, right? So or not peninsula, the Siberian tundra. He was Siberian. The Huns are more southern and closer to the Hindus of India, and the Mongolians is more northeastern. They were more the round face, what we call pie face, than the Huns. It was two different bloodlines. If you go to Google and just ask what percentage of men has Genghis Khan blood, it's gonna blow your mind to find out how many over here.
Right, and that's what made me ask that question, because I can't even remember where I picked that information up at, but I was either studying something or researching something. I saw it somewhere, and that's what made that kind of like trigger in my mind, is that connected, because I know he did that specifically and intentionally for doing what what they are doing. You know what I mean? Like putting his DNA out there to do whatever he can get it to do. But how does
his DNA got over here with the incursion of the Moors who brought him over as servants.
Right.
Right. A lot of those tribes, if you take the feathers off,
mm-hmm.
and then you go look at the Mongolian tribes, they dress the same.
Mm.
They never, because you can take a person and re-educate him, but what's in his soul is going to permeate through his DNA, and he's going to reconstitute. It's two groups of those motherfuckers. It's the ones who took sides with the dirty Moors, and then it's the ones that took sides with us. How can you tell the difference? The ones that took side with the enemy, they all got casinos and living high on the hog with no resistance. The ones that took sides with us, like the ones in Arizona, dirt poor. And all they do is get drunk. Because alcohol don't do us well across the tribes. Right? When we've been drinking for thousands of years, but it was only the old Mississippians. The rest of the tribes weren't drinking tribes. They were smoking tribes. They was peyote tribes. They was mushroom tribes. They was tobacco tribes. You know, they was lavender tribes. They was herbal tribes. All of them didn't drink. So when they finally got a hold of some alcohol, it fucked them up.
Yeah.
Right.
And we see
but
our families now, like in real life, like in real time, not knowing to our original tribes, but just based off of what you said. Now, let me ask you this, because you going in, man. Oh boy. So let me ask you this. So now when you talk about that, in regards to like the smoking tribes, the mushroom tribes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we talk about shamans and healers and priests and priestesses, you know, all that, diviners, all those sages, all of the elements that we need to be able to kind of like proceed in regards to the movement of the revolution and the empowerment of our people. There was always that shaman, there was always that healer, there was always that, you know, that priestess, etc. Like sinners, you had the hoodoo woman, etc. But there was a call that I saw with you. I can't remember which brother it was, but we were talking about, y'all talking about the significance of tobacco or even mushrooms as well, and how they give us the ability to tap into a much higher level of consciousness and to receive messages from that kingdom, like i.e. the mushroom, and how I remember, I think he was talking about how one of the mushrooms was talking to you or something crazy like that.
The spirit of the mushroom.
Yeah, it was Brother Rich show, and he was talking about the tobacco he got from like Honduras or something like that. So can you kind of tie in or share with us how these different types of elements can help us to access higher realms of consciousness, but also receive messages or intelligence from spirit from which that particular element comes from?
So once you in tune with the spirit of the mushroom, you can draw information from what's called the psilocybin network. That's a network that all mushrooms communicate on a spiritual level, right? And far as tobacco, you have something called nicotine receptors that boost the function of the brain, right? They don't tell us about that, but the nicotine receptors is there because we've been using nicotine for so long to aid us in awakening our consciousness. You have something in your body called an endocannabinoid network, where you have endocannabinoid receptors and all throughout the body. And the use of the cannabis allows you to connect your endocannabinoid system, which brings you into the ability to download information out of the ethers, right? So when you hear people talking about they was reading the ethers, that's the same thing that we do if we know how to use our endocannabinoid system, right? All these are means to tap into higher states of consciousness, right? But they poison us so much now that even a lot of the tobacco is sprayed with aluminum sulfide, cyanide, sulfates, and different poisons to try to minimize its positive effects. So the side effect of smoking becomes lung cancer and all of that. But if they didn't have, if you remember, we had grandmamas that was in their 90s and big papas that was in their hundreds that have been smoking since they was 5 and never caught cancer, because a lot of our medicine was in the food, and the tobacco wasn't toxic until they put toxic pesticides on the tobacco. And that's what makes the tobacco become toxic. Otherwise, it would be benign smoke, right? With positive, what they call nootropic effect, stimulating the function of brain communication. The CBDs in the cannabis is also, it's like a facilitator for rapid synaptic firing of the neurons in the brain. So it's like greasing up the system. And then you have what's called the soot from the dirty burn. That's why you get the munchies, because the sugar is the catalyst for most brain function, the glucose. Like 80% of your glucose is used to make your brain function, right? So when you had the munchies and you eat a bunch of sweet stuff, you get what's called the rapid dirty burn, which produces the soot. The soot is the carbon, which is the mirror to melanin. And when you put two mirrors, you can see the difference between the two, right? So it's all functioning within the biology of who we are. And this is why we use those substances. This is what make you become a vice lord, the lord of your vice. Your vice don't rule you. You use the stuff that became vices that didn't affect us before to facilitate you reaching different states of consciousness, which allow you to download information in the waking state, sometime in the dream state.
That's deep, bro. That's real deep, because I just had a crazy dream last night too. Excuse me, but whew, yeah, that's deep. Like, that's real deep. Man, there's so many different ways I want to go where we are right now. We at an intersection here. Man, it's a lot. So okay, let me ask you this.
You ain't gotta ask everything in one session.
I know. That's why I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
Like,
good.
I knew it was gonna be like this. So let
They asked me how to eat an elephant. I told them one bite at a time.
That's all we can do. That and look, that goes back to E5 too. E5 has it's an Odu that speaks on that about how to take down the elephant. It's one bite at a time. But okay, so let me ask you this, because we need a lot of healing, right? We need a lot of healing. I feel like there's so much going on right now, and I feel like there's so many of us who aren't at the level who can appreciate the information, or even like the crystallization that for some people listening, it's going to be a confirmation of what they've already knew, felt, seen, or heard, in other places or experiences, right? But then there's a group of us who that they haven't been able to like reach or tap into being in alignment with where this particular conversation is going. But that, I want to be clear, that doesn't diminish or make them less than, anybody else or anything like that, because we need everybody at this point, all hands on deck. So where can we help to kind of create that starting point for those people who are on the show or on the live or who might watch the replay to like tap into not just this level of energy, but also if they want to maybe research their roots or their heritage and how that all plays a part into who they are at this point in our time?
Well, all of the information is in the public domain. Most of it is in books. If you go back to Bobby Hemmett say they put everything in the books. They wrote it all down, right? In ancient Egypt, when they said we was going to go into this darkness, they said that we needed to start to record the history in writing so that the future generations on the other side of the amnesia would be able to recover the information from the writings, right? So it's a lot of different venues of study tribes, study the history of the so-called Native American, and then ask yourself, what in this description do we already do every day naturally? Because what you do naturally is what you learn from nature. What you learn to do unnaturally is what you learn from man. And you will see that we still move according to the same tribal patterns we always move.
That's deep. Can you say that what you just said again? What was learned and like what was? Can you say that again? Like that last, you said something about what was learned by nature and what was learned by man. Can you share that? Can you
Yeah,
kind of
that which we do naturally is what we learned from nature, which is already in us. That which we learn that's unnatural, we learn it from man, right? So what that means is when we watch Bloods, B-Walk, Crips, C-Walk, we watch them boys in the Midwest Hoover stomping, we watch them line dancing, that's coming from the soul. When we got our boots on the ground, actually where them fans at, that's coming from the soul. And we all get on board because we recognize something in the frequency, and the song is the rally cry, and the dance is the expression. So what you learn naturally comes forth from your DNA, and it's stuff you do automatic. It's like Big Mama go in the kitchen and cook for everybody in the house. She don't just cook for her, right? Where if a person live by themselves, they might cook too much food because they naturally want to cook for a family, right? That's nature, right? But when you be like, fuck everybody else, I'm only worried about me, you learned that from somebody that was selfish, self-centered, greedy, and righteous and entitled.
Yes, that's real. And I feel like that's a product of the environment, of being a product of being influenced by that same, dirty, more papal, what you call it?
Indoctrination.
There you go. Yes, sir. That's what I was trying to get to from the Vatican. So yeah, that's real. This is dope. So let me ask you this, in regards to, because I want to go deep, because we already went deep, but I want to go even deeper, because I've been talking about the inner earth. I've been talking about Atlantis and Lemuria, Agartha, you know what I'm saying? Like things that are totally foreign to a lot of people, but being that we've been blessed to have great master teachers, we know about a lot of this, but I don't want to create some sort of barrier as to like not sharing what needs to be known to, you know what I'm saying, the globe for that matter. Where does the extra level of higher intelligence and advanced beings come into play with the grand scheme of things of what we're experiencing today, i.e., like inner earth beings who, you know what I'm saying, have access to the inner earth, or Lemurians, Atlanteans, et cetera, et cetera? Like, how does that all tie into what we're witnessing and what we're experiencing right now?
It's the exhuming of a nation. It's just like a hard drive. Every time you erase the hard drive, your computer tell you it's clear. You can erase it and fill it up 50 times. A good computer engineer, code writer, or hacker can go back to the first program that was on there. It's the same thing, right? Everything still exists in layers of history or strata. This is where you get archaeology and anthropology from. They trying to dig through the strata layers to discover what the ancients knew so that they can remember what we capable of. We can do all that stuff already. We just don't know we can, but because you don't know you can do it and you scared to try, you won't never get it done.
I love that. Man, I love that, because I just had a conversation today. Because like in the Ifa Isheshe community, right, a lot of us feel like put self-limited beliefs on ourselves as to thinking that you have to be initiated into a priesthood or into a priestly society in order to have access to a priestly ashe or energy. Like, but if you really just tap in and study and research and do whatever it takes to hone your skill and to sharpen your sword and, you know, your craft, we're all a child of God. We could do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I believe, because that's what led me to the path that I'm on now. Like, it wasn't about Ifa Isheshe. That was part of my journey. But I've been this child of God all my life prior to this life. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but I want to share with those who may have been indoctrinated, because unfortunately, us, even as melanated beings, especially in certain types of religious or spiritual constructs, have distributed that same kind of, you know what I'm saying, patriarchal, dominating, you know, a wannabe controlling dictatorship type of energy amongst our own people. So for those who might not have the personal self-confidence or the access to teachers that have the wisdom, like brothers like you, or, you know, a lot of the other master teachers that have been on here, what would you tell them in regards to tapping into that next level of energy, or even like trying to open up their mind? Just let's talk about the mind, to like access brain levels like Lucy.
Learn self-talk. If you don't do nothing else, the art and science of self-talk, you can navigate your own self to whatever you want to do. You got to learn. We got to remember, Michael Jordan wasn't the greatest of all time in basketball when he was 13. He didn't know how to play basketball. He had to learn how to play basketball, but his passion at the time was baseball. But instead of pursuing baseball, he settled on basketball and became the GOAT. So this telling you that because you don't know how to do something, don't mean the potential to learn is not present with you, right? Malachi got a book called Your Potential, right? And it's talking about you can do whatever you train yourself to do. You got to be willing to practice. You have to have a desire to want to learn something in order for you to apply yourself. You're not going to learn something you ain't got no interest in. I don't care who try to force it down your throat. You're not going to learn it. You're going to try to ignore it. But if you're interested in, you're going to focus, you're going to concentrate, and you're going to pay attention. Focus, concentration, and attention means active downloading of the methodology of the thing you didn't know that you're interested in knowing. And you got to remember, when you first learn something, cognitive dissonance is there, but if you wait a little while, it'll settle and you'll understand it better. Don't try to understand everything as soon as you hear it or see it. Sometimes you just got to sit with the information because your subconscious mind have a unique ability to make stuff connect for you. We call that planting a seed. And all you have to do, plant your own seed. And whatever it is you want to learn, you can learn it. It ain't nothing. You could be 50 years old and still go to school and learn how to be a brain surgeon. It ain't no time limit on learning. The only thing that's a limit on learning is the ambition to learn. That's the only limit. And you can do way more than you know, but you've been told you can't do shit because you didn't come from shit. So all you can be is a piece of shit because you practicing being shit, the waste product of the intestines. And as long as you practicing being a waste product, you're going to be a product of waste.
Oh man, I love it. Oh man. Oh man. Okay. So I'm gonna take a breath and just really try to figure this out. All right. So now I want to figure out. All right. I'm gonna give thanks to the ancestors, man, because without them, none of this is happening. Because this is like the second one of them one shows in less than a week, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I already knew this one was gonna be one of the ones too. But
Hey, look, Yin Yang Princess say rise above emotions.
yeah,
Learn to read your emotion instead of reacting to your emotion.
Yeah.
Learn to read your emotion, but you first have to calibrate emotionally by determining if your emotions is in proper context to the circumstances and situation that elicits the emotion. If it's an out of context emotion, that means you have a thinking error in relation to the subject matter. Learn to read your emotions and you won't have to rise above them. You can use them as a navigation system for your Earth rover. That's what the purpose of it is.
That's real deep. Because I was just talking to the young kings like a week or two ago about that topic with emotions and energy and motion and how, you know what I'm saying, to like be able to tap into like that inner self, that first eye, third eye, mind's eye, Ori, whatever you want to call it, being able to tap into that neo-ness in this matrix, being the one, being able, and let's go back to the mother. Shout out to Sophia Stewart, the author of the book, The Third Eye, which led to the Matrix and to the Terminator. They all that, right? That came back to Bit Mama. What we talking about, all those movies that we saw, Matrix, Terminator, and a bunch of other movies, all came from the vision of the matriarch, the mother, Sophia
There's
Stewart.
2 movies we always leave out that's inspired by them series.
Which 2?
I, Robot. That's the middle. That's the rise of the machines. I, Robot. When the machine started doing its own thing. And it's another one called AI. It's about a little boy. He'll never grow up because he's artificial intelligence. He's a robot, he's android. But those were inspired by the Terminator and the Matrix.
Yes, sir. That's deep. Which came from the mother, the feminine energy. Okay, so let me ask you this. In regards to Doc, shout out to Doc, Freedom Master Teacher, Dr. York. What was the significance of him building Tama-Re in Georgia? And for those who don't know what Tama-Re is, can you kind of share with the tribe like what Tama-Re was and where it was built and why?
So the words Tama-Re is short for Tama-Re and Re, which is Ra. Tama-Re is the great mother and Ra is the great father. It's the Kemetic representation of the hierarchy of the family structure. the story that we know as the holy drama, Osiris versus Set, the slaying of Osiris, the Isis birthing Heru to redeem the father and redeem the throne from his wicked uncle. That's a blueprint. It's a map. It's a instructional guide for the rightful heir, which is the persona called Heru or Emmanuel biblically, right? To reclaim the father's throne from his wicked uncle. Noble Ali wrote, "Beware your uncle, he'll sell you into slavery." Right? Oh. So the wicked uncle is the symbol for the system that has went astray from the path that the throne is supposed to hold. Right? He ain't wicked in truth, he's wicked in error. So we look at where does the error come in? Because the wisdom is in the error. When you understand what the Freudian slip is for, it's the sudden outburst of truth in the middle of a discussion. Right? So you learn to read the error, and then you can see the wisdom in the error of our ways.
Can you repeat the first part of that again? Because like that, a lot of people might know it, but for real, like that's deep because like even in my own mind, I heard it reverberate. It was echoing because you said some real shit with that. Can you repeat that one more time about the Freudian slip?
The Freudian slip is the accidental exposure of the truth in the middle of a discussion. It's the revelation of truth where it shouldn't be. A Freudian slip in psychiatry mean that you blurted something out that you did not intend to say. You said the quiet part out loud. It's a Freudian slip. The Freudian slip reveals the truth that's concealed.
That's deep. That's real deep. Okay, so now because it's concealing this, it's bringing to the forefront the truth that's concealed, right? So, man, look, let me ask you this since we're talking about that, because for one, there's a lot of revelations that I feel like took place tonight already, especially when you talk about ancient Kemet and like being the origin of it being here in Turtle Island, also known as America, also known as the Corporation of the U.S., right? But then you also mentioned that Tupac has a tie and a connection to King Tut, and also with the Grand Canyon in Arizona and Amaru, the Amaru tribe. Can you kind of go a little deeper into that connection in regards to like Pac, Amaru, and the connection to the Grand Canyon and the Grand Canyon's connection to Kemet?
Well, remember, Grand Canyon is the original, Kemet is the replica.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. The Amaru is known in ancient times as the Nagas. The Nagas kings used to use the serpent for a symbol. The serpent symbol is wisdom. And like I come from the monkey tribe. So monkey see snake. The monkey don't have to watch the snake to know where he at. He can go in the bushes and the monkey could be looking in the other direction. But if he come anywhere else outside the bushes toward where we at, the monkey already know. Monkey see snake. Monkey don't forget where snake at. He can see him with his third eye, his monkey mind, Sako Mao. He can pay attention to the movement of the serpent. So Tupac Amaru means the wise serpent. So it tells the Monkey King, watch the wise serpent, and he gonna tell you the story. This is ancient. This go all the way back to Atlantis or the Great Atlan. And we use these methods to change systems at the close of every age. This is not our first rodeo. And every one of the ones, they had to identify themselves in a coded manner. Right? So remember, Tupac got shot at Quad Studio, and the realest shit I ever wrote, he said gunshots to Tuck, now he's stuck. Fuck the rap game, this is M.O.B.
Believe
Everybody thought he was talking about some dude from New York they called King Tut, who was a stick-up boy.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't talking about him, he was self-identifying. Following the instructions that he got from Haitian Jack. How do I know he got the instructions from Haitian Jack? Because he said, listen while I take you back and lace this track, the real live tale about a snitch named Haitian Jack.
Knew he was
right
by the feds. Yeah.
It's codes. Tupac got codes all through his music.
We about to go deep, deep, deep.
So when you know who you are, it helps you to see who everybody else was. No, Christopher Wallace was Chief Sitting Bull. If you go to Google and you write, put in Biggie Small sitting, you're just gonna see a whole bunch of pictures of him sitting down. Why? Because Chief Sitting Bull was sitting on his post, didn't want to get his lazy ass up. So he got to get thrashed in the public without responding. He got to take that shit because he know he was wrong for letting the enemy come in and don't sound the alarm. Meanwhile, old dirty bastard embodying the energy of Chief Crazy Horse is telling you the truth while everybody else is calling him crazy. Only one of the chiefs is going to pay this Shinnecock chief any attention because he's Crazy Horse. Right? And I'm going on with this because there's a whole bunch of them. I can rattle off Chief Zolo. That's Darkman X, DMX. He always on the heels of Tupac. The Great Father walked with a black dog on his heels. Chief Zolo. The Zolo hairless Mexican dog was named after Chief Zolo. Chief Zolo reincarnated as DMX, Earl Simmons. Right? I can keep going on, but you get what I'm saying. So Tupac ties. His job was to face meet as many chiefs as he could, and then put them out front. Curtis Jackson, Big 50, right? Old Louisiana conjure man with the unbreakable conjure, the March of the Mares, the 50 Sisters resurrection. The 50 Sisters have to come if the 50 niggas fail or the 50 knockers, right? The only way they can fail is if they don't call for the sisters. So they can't never fail. If they go into war and they win in the war to overthrow the industry from the inside, what industry? The Hollywood industry, music, movies, artistic expression, and the right to your artistic materials. This was their war. Where other people was fighting political wars on the political front with imposters. But the politics is irrelevant because all politicians is puppets. We want where the real power at. We want the ones behind the scene, right? Haile Selassie came back as Nipsey Hussle, the emperor. He gonna always, wherever he go, he gonna always find a way to be welcome to motherfucking boss. That's just his nature. He can't help it. What's royalty in you, it's got to be expressed outwardly. Right? It just so happened that he was loyal to the 60s. And it wasn't the 60s who put the hit on him. And don't make me show you the hit.
Man. Oh. Oh man, it's a classic. Okay.
E40 is the connector. Use the shield of the music industry to join the chiefs behind the scenes. Everywhere you go, meet with the local chiefs. Let them know we coming back for everything they owe. It just so happened they owe us everything. 40 water. That's 2020. See clear through the water.
So let me ask you this, because Pop, this is dope. Like this is dope because I had no idea this was gonna go here today, but because like I there's certain ones that's just them ones for me, and Pop was one of them ones. Like I said, just like El High. So Pop, like I read a lot about stuff that I didn't know, even just in this book, his book of poems, you know, The Road That Grew from Concrete. And it's like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what Pac was. And I know people knew Pac, and I know they knew.
I gotta say something. Hold on. I gotta say something. Nip ain't dead. Don't believe that bullshit. Nip ain't gone nowhere. Y'all gonna see him when y'all see Tupac. He ain't gone nowhere either. Biggie ain't gone nowhere either. But sometimes you have to get out the people's way in order for the people to get free, and you can't clog up the lane. Everybody you think dead ain't dead. Pimp C stay getting on my nerves, talking about, come on, man, brother need to be sane. Come on, hurry up with your work, man. He get on my nerves with that shit. He always coming to me telling me, come on, man, you know how it is. A pimp need to be sane, man. They can't see me back here. Wherever he hiding out at, extracted is the right word. Wherever Pimp C hiding out at, he don't like it there because he can't be seen how he want to be seen.
Bruh. Man, listen, you really going, we going.
Aaliyah Left Eye is on Sabi Ranch in Honduras.
Say it one more time.
Aaliyah Left Eye on Sabi Ranch in Honduras, but not the ranch everybody be going to. He had another one. It's a safe haven. Come on, man. We ain't finna just we tired of losing our good people to rotten shit. We had to come up with a counteroffensive. When we determined that they got a mark on their head to execute them, they not staying. They can say what they want in the public. They could tell the story and slant it however they want in the news. Go back and look at Benghazi at Tupac holding that AK-47, and that'll explain something to you.
Okay.
This shit is global, man. This is deeper than we can talk about because there's so much that people are misled to believe. Right? Ibrahim Traore is not he handpicked by the big mamas in the land. This is why when you see all of the countries a couple days ago, every country in Africa had a hands-off Ibrahim Traore parade. Leave that man alone. I'm telling you, it's the worst thing you can do is murder him right now.
If you touch him, boy, listen, because you got people, I'm telling you, you got the Dessalines energy. You like, it's a lot of energy at play right now.
He pushing Patrice Lumumba, Stephen Biko energy. He coming Stephen Biko, Patrice Lumumba, liberate my people energy. He ain't playing. And he ain't that easy to get to. Everybody know that he's doing what's right. Everybody, even the people that don't like him doing what's right, know he doing what's right by his people. That's going to affect all of us.
Yes, sir.
He's Shaka Zulu right now.
I look at him as the embodiment of Ogun, which I don't see them too far apart because he got that.
I'm just saying.
He got that.
I'm just saying. They don't want to see these old goons, these A1 bogarts flying in from all over the place to set the record straight.
Well, it's too late. It's too late anyway because they're already here.
It ain't nothing they could do. It's over with. The old system has fallen. Babylon fell in your face, but you didn't see it because you thought that it was going to look different. You still waiting on a stringy hair hippie on a cloud to come surfing down with a Philharmonic orchestra and another cloud following him, playing We Shall Overcome as he ride down to save all our souls from being sinners. That ain't going to never happen.
That revolution ain't televised. This the real revolution, and nigga is here for everybody.
I tell them my revolution might not be televised, but this show gonna play the fuck out on social media.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
look,
boy.
We got soldiers in this struggle over here, right? I start naming them. Phase 1, Yaki Awaken, 19 Keys. I could go on and on with this, but we don't have to keep going there. We just have to be aware that it's over for them. Their time is up. Our time is now. This is the C nation y'all gonna see. a sea of niggas having Mardi Gras from coast to coast with boots on the ground asking them sisters where your fans at, because the shit about to hit it, because these shit kicking boots when it kick this shit straight up to the fans.
Mm-hmm. That part. Yes, sir. All righty then. So, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Look, the old Mississippians, Mississippi Delta blues is the root to all music that came out of the Americas. Everybody that became a major artist have old Mississippian codes in their music. I don't give a fuck if it's Madonna. I don't care if it's Elvis Presley. I don't care if it's Wayne Newton. All of the big stars that rose up practicing rock and roll, R&B, soul, pop, jazz, bebop, hard bop, ragtime, they all telling us codes in their music that if you ain't no Mississippian, you may never catch.
Okay. So now when we talk about, because we know Mississippi is a major staple in regards to our story, not his story, but our story, right? Especially when we talk about Turtle Island, aka
You know, Mississippi spelled Miss Isis on pie.
That's what I want to get to is like, okay, so when we talk about that, because even the river, what's the significance of the Mississippi River?
The Mississippi River is the lifeline of the land, and it has multiple tributaries throughout the land that feed into it. The Mississippi used to be our commerce travel network. The old Mississippian tribes used to patrol it with boats. They call it river boats now. The river boats used to deliver goods up and down the Mississippi to be taken to the different parts of the land because we ain't had no goddamn grocery stores. These grocery stores got motherfuckers spoiled rotten with this spoiled rotten ass food in them. Right? We didn't have grocery stores. We delivered fresh goods on a regular basis to the local community up and down the Mississippi, and they took it into their community and divvied it up to the people. We ain't had no problem feeding nobody before 1492. We didn't know what homelessness was because we didn't know everybody got a home, because if you can have a house, you can go to Big Mama house. Everybody, ain't no orphans. All of the babies belong to all of the grown folks that got some sense, right? So we didn't have that shit. Somebody gonna take you in. And the Mississippi River is where the Mississippi clay dirt formed the humans.
Whew. Oh man, okay. Where the Mississippi clay dirt formed the humans. So now does that go back to like all the way back like to the creation story? Because we was having a little friendly debate. Now I wouldn't say debate, but conversation on the live I had the other night where I think it had something to do with in regards to who are the real pyramid / or I should say who are the real mound / pyramid builders. So can you kind of share for us, because I think it stemmed from the oldest, like who pretty much was the progenitor of humanity. And my take is it was a black woman. And I think there's different, names that they call it. I don't know if it's Ardipithecus or whatever, Lucy, whatever they call it. But can you kind of tap
Lucy
into
wasn't a human.
Who was okay?
Lucy was a species called proconsul. It was like an ancient chimp. The oldest human was found over here.
Okay.
It was a woman.
What's the name? What's the name of it?
That's
something that's what I was trying to figure out. But it's like that show was a solo show, so it's hard to like do what I could do when I'm on another show with looking up stuff real quick. But I know is the oldest human remains ever found was of a womb man. So that's what I was trying to.
If you go back far enough, you're gonna run out of Y chromosome. The Y chromosome, the male, has only been here about 65 to 100,000 years Earth time. Men ain't always been here. Women used to give birth through parthenogenesis until they put Lunar up there to block out and control their menstrual cycles. That's the turn off the parthenogenesis. I'm just saying.
Now that's deep, because that goes back to what we're talking about with the solar cycles and the transformations, because you just said that that was all tied to the lunar cycle. So now, does that same lunar cycle energy have any influence on us as a planet, or especially us as a people, where we are now during this transition into the
Well,
Aquarius?
it took the women a couple thousand years to figure out the energy of the moon and how it was affecting them. Before that, our night sky was not lit up by this current spaceship they call the moon. Our night sky was lit up by a Saturn moon called Lilith. Right? The Lilith moon made everything look like it was under a black light in the nightclub. Everything used to glow. This the major difference. Heaven was on Earth. Heaven always been on Earth. The problem is that some goddamn devils came to heaven and fucked it up.
And I talked about that too. So now them devils, because to my recollection or my studies, those devils that you're talking about now, that pretty much you haul the moon in from another solar system. Are you, when your story from, let me see if it's the same as my story, but are you talking about the Draconians who came and brought their moon from, was it Maldek, the Maldekians that brought it in here, that took control over the Piscean age of the lunar cycle? Is that like
That's the story that explains the towing of the moon. They don't have to tow it though. That motherfucker fly. It's a battleship.
Can you share
It's a Death Star.
And there was a movie or a show that was like tied to that, right?
More than likely, they wrote books about it.
Yeah, because I heard about that part before the Death Star, but I know it as the real story that we're talking about, which is those beings who came over here that used that fake moon to. Okay, can you share a little bit of that?
So the Death Star, if you go to Star Trek, this is where you find the Death Star at. It's the ship that Darth Vader rides. Right? That's the Death Star. The moon that we have now was not the original moon of the Earth. The original moon of the Earth is the moon of Saturn, called Lilith. This is why during the dark phases of the moon, the ancient bloodline women become stronger for those 3 days when Luna is darkened out, because they getting direct Lilith energy. This is why the Jews hate Lilith, because the Lilith energy, it galvanizes the power of the divine feminine, and they want to subjugate the energy of the divine feminine. And so this is why they put the moon up there, because women used to decide when they was going to give birth. Once man was created, once they decide when they going to give birth, they would have about 3 menstrual cycles, right? 2 cleansing cycles and 1 birth preparation cycle. And then they would take on the man to impregnate them, right? They got us under some other shit that's, the women can't control it, so they need birth control. The women can't stop herself from getting pregnant, so she need an abortion. Ain't none of that shit natural to us. Ain't none of it natural to us. All that is stuff that was imposed on us by people that called themselves the gods. They not gods. They just some technologically advanced beings that had to try to figure out how to conquer the women of the earth. But we ain't gonna never let y'all win if it takes 6,000 years to kick y'all in the ass. I'm the last resort. They gonna call me at the end when everybody else don't get it right, because I'm gonna put foot in their ass up to my knee and walk around with them like shoes.
You ain't alone either.
No, because we come in teams. Everything I'm doing on social media, Ibrahim Traore is playing it out in the 3D world.
And then it's also being played out in the spiritual world. So
it came from the spiritual world first.
Yes, sir.
So we already won.
Yes, sir.
Because we spiritually, in the spirit realm, we've been kicked their ass. Now we just getting the imposters out. Because we don't want to go through this cycle again.
Oh my God, the divine alignment is just so dope. So can you break down these cycles? Because like I said, I always try to be conscientious of like where people are, because we're all in different phases of our, you know, our journey on consciousness. So when you break down cycles, can you kind of share what a cycle is in regards to like what we are dealing with in real time, and like, and then where is that going to go once we get through this cycle?
Is every 26,000 years. That's a cycle. It's a yuga. Every 26,000 Earth years is a great yuga. The great yuga is broke up into 4 seasonal periods called ages or eons. And each eon is roughly 6,000 years. And once you finish one cycle, then you have to rewrite a whole new cycle. The last cycle, which brought us through the age of Pisces, was unceremoniously interrupted by warfare. So we all had to adapt our spiritual skills to learn how to fight warfare from the spiritual to the physical. A lot of what we face with is from ancient wars. These are the remnants. But now at the close of this cycle, it's the close of the lunar cycle, it's the close of the Piscean age, it's the close of the great wheel cycle of 26,000 years, right? 24 to 26, depending on which calendar we're using. So once the cycle ends, as an eternal being, we have to do a reset. And the reset, it takes place upon mass awakening to the transfer of frequency, right? So we moving from the Piscean frequency where everybody head was underwater and everything you thought you was looking at was slightly off center. Just like looking underwater, what you're looking at is slightly off center. When you're underwater looking out the water, everything's look murky. This is the pattern of the Piscean age. And as long as stuff is not clear because of the time frame, then you're not really seeing, you have to believe. But once you get beyond belief, where you go to knowing, and the closing of the age, all of them converge. So this is the closing of the 24,000 year cycle. This is the closing of the period or the eon or the age called Pisces, Piscean age. This is the closing of the 6,000 year cycle. The 6,000 year cycle is most critical because the 6,000 years was how long they had before the close of the Great Wheel. And now that it's being closed, everything goes back to the original gods or the original beings in order for them to restore back to balance to everything.
Yep. And that's what brings us back to, you know, the matriarchal you know, society, you know, being led and being under the nurturing of the mother, you know, and that goes back into the cosmic mother. So man, this is dope. So regarding the cosmos and the cycles that, you know, we're going through, and then like where we are now, what's the timeline that you see with Big Mama, you know, getting ready to go ahead and exterminate and extract these parasites? You know,
I don't get timelines because the time is unpredictable.
Gotcha.
They've altered the frequency for time. So no man know the day or the hour, only the women know. So I ain't finna act like I know something I don't know.
I like that.
But you can see signs of it. All you got to do is watch the fall of America continue to fall, which is the symbol for the fall of Babylon. As you see Trump dismantling the corporation and restoring the people back to the power, then you seeing everything operating the way it's supposed to. Just follow the narrative. And don't participate in their shenanigans because they're going to try to emotionally activate you into negative emotions to try to draw the frequency back down, but they can't stop us from rising.
Man, I love that you said that too, man, because that's another point that I've really been trying to drive home to people that I speak to that I know on a personal level is like, take inventory or take hold of your energy, your intentions, and all the things that you're doing, because right now with this shift, when we talking about Big Mama like exterminating these parasites, let me ask you this, because your opinion might be different from mine, but is there a race or skin complexion tied
No,
to that energy
no,
of the parasite? Okay, thank you,
no.
because that we on the same, then we on the same page, because
It's a
that's something.
vibration in the frequency. Okay. How it's going to work is this. It's going to be what's called the Great Solar Flare. The Great Solar Flare then is going to activate the core of the Earth to send out the parasite cleansing frequency. Everybody that don't belong here, they can't stay here. If you ain't the original people of Earth, and I don't care what skin color you is, because it's original people from all skin colors. But if you ain't from the original people of the Earth, your mitochondria is just going to be turned off unceremoniously. That's like turning your brain off mid-step or turning your heart off mid-step. It's the same. Right?
Yeah,
So it's going to be solar flare, Schumann resonance spike, parasites drop.
bro, that's so dope.
But we get to have some fun first.
I promise you, I promise you, I've been sharing that with people for a minute now. But it's the last. I want to ask you this, because this is something, especially with you and I. We ain't even known each other a week. Hell, I don't even know if it's been 4 days, but that don't matter, because we've known each other for eternities. I feel like spiritually or energetically. But in this present time right now, I've known you for maybe 4 days. I don't know, but whatever. I personally started sharing with people within the last year and a half, year and almost close to 2 years, about this is it. This is a wrap. This is the big. I call it the solar system. This is the Super Bowl of the solar system in regards to what we're seeing and witnessing right now on this planet and this extraction.
It's
How,
funny you say that, because as soon as it's over, we going to have delegates from places. They going to look so strange to us. But they coming from everywhere, because when we liberated the Earth realm, everything that was under Enlil's control was liberated. Galaxies, because they went about in they ship as it passed through other galaxies, conquering, and they just picked the wrong place when they came to Earth.
Oh man. And I'm still keeping it. I'm keeping it quite PG-13, because when I tell you, bro, like that's so dope, because I've been saying that, and I think being the type of person, and I'm gonna bring this up too, because right now we've been in 2 hours and 32 minutes. We got damn near 1,000 people. We about 600 something. But anyway, that's real. But you said something in another interview I was watching the other day, and it resonated with me on another level, because I could relate to it. And what it was, you were saying that you don't even like social media. You
Man,
don't
I
like,
hate social media with a passion.
you and me both. And that's the thing. But see, I know it's a different level of vibration and different level of beingness, because for me, I don't need or want attention, none of that. But I know what I was called to do, and I know my gift. So I don't want the problems of not being obedient to Big Mama and to spirit. So therefore I
Look,
have to, what I
I
know.
tried. I tried to run away. I tried to refuse. I had no right of refusal on this one. I didn't want to go on social media. I would have rather went on a lecture circuit than social media. But no, I'm going to whoop your ass spiritually until you conform to what I need you to do, not what I want you to do. The requirement for me to use social media was to follow the path of least resistance, to access the most amount of people using the public domain format in order to meet with the tribal tradition, where we used to stand in the town square and there used to be somebody that read out the public information several times a day to make sure everybody heard it for a period of time. Now based on modern legalities or legal systems, we use what's called a timestamp archivable dated format, which has a reach of more than 1,000 people. All social media platforms, whether it be it Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, YouTube, Rumble, it don't matter. They all have more than 1,000 people have access to it. So then it becomes actionable by putting it in the public domain, following the traditions of the tribe. So that's why I use social media. But believe me, I tried to duck this. When them niggas saw slam their doors in my face, I was like, okay, I do what I do. So I don't like social media. I never liked it, but it's a means to an end. And in this particular situation, to get this information to as many people as willing to receive it, I use whatever is required, and I don't have to like it, but I will perform my function because I don't want no more of them spiritual ass whoopings. I'd rather for 3 big niggas to come beat my ass on the corner than get another spiritual ass whooping. Them the worst ass whoopings you could ever get.
Well, when I tell you, look, when I tell you, when you said that, it resonated with me because I feel you, and I feel the same way because I don't need any of like the fanfare. Like, I don't need or want any of that, but I also know what I signed up to do. So I have to, you know what I'm saying? I have to be obedient to that. But when you said that, it resonated because there's not a lot of people that I personally have seen or listened to or watched their work that has came out and said that publicly. I've said it privately to people who I know personally that I don't like social media and I don't want to be on it because I really don't give a shit about it. But I know I came here to do a job and that job has to be done. And I committed to that. So when you said that, it was like, it was dope because like, oh, it's somebody else who feel that way too. But with that, I feel like that's what makes this type of work more honorable because it's not like it's done for the facade or the praise. You know, say all the other foolishness that unfortunately we do have some people who are doing things for that particular reason, right? But that's why I asked the question in regards to how do you feel about the intentions or the energy or the frequency with people right now, and does race or color or melanin matter? Because it really is about the frequency. Because you said something, I don't know how many people caught it, but when you said there are beings who operate in the next level of dimensions or frequencies who are of all colors and races, that's a real thing, because now we're talking about energy signatures and we're talking about auric and ethereal and energy existences, which your melanin ain't gonna give you a pass to get to that level of frequency if you on the bullshit. So for that, is it like, can you kind of share just like how real that is and how important it is for us to like really work on operating at the highest optimum energetic frequency that we can in order to get to the next dimension and avoid being part of the extraction or extermination when Big Mama come and do what she do?
From you gotta remember, humans can see less than 1% of the light spectrum. Other beings can see larger chunks of the light spectrum. The physiology of the human is going through a transitional phase. We turn it from carbon based, which give us our shades of brown to bone in color, to crystalline, which will give us a different physiological appearance over time. And in order to meet these needs, we had to have a certain frequency that's vibrating within our biology that allows the mitochondria to feed the DNA to convert the 2-strand DNA into a crystalline processor instead of a carbon-based processor. And we will be downloading massive amounts of energy, and we'll be able to have our higher self as a personal tutor. Right. But it's based on your frequency that's going to allow you to adapt. If you are vibrating too low, you're going to have to come back if you're earthborn because you haven't done the self work required to raise your vibration.
Yeah, that's deep. And when you say, it's 2 questions I want to ask with that. So when you say earthborn, can you kind of share with us what your definition of Non-Earthborn is and why that's significant to tonight's conversation?
Everybody on Earth ain't from Earth. That's just all I mean. Everybody on Earth not from Earth. You got interlopers. You got usurpers and underminers. Some of them come from a mirror dimension. Their genetics is backwards. They don't have a XY. They have a YX. They don't have a 2X male. They have female. They have a 2X male, right? You can look these conditions up. XY female, XX male. They got names for this stuff, but they from a mirror dimension. That's why they genetics mirror ours upside down and backwards. Everybody ain't from Earth, but the ones who was naturally tied to the Earth, they can't go nowhere else unless they leave by apparatus, right? And the ones who don't belong here, Earth send that pitch out. That's over for them. Should have left when you had a chance. They had a big exodus from Antarctica about a year and a half ago. But they told us that it was a meteor shower. They didn't tell us it was thousands of ships leaving. Because they played the video in reverse.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? That reminds me of the, I don't know if you saw it or not. I want to say, shit, where was it at? I want to say it was in London about maybe a couple of months ago when they had a very significant, I would say, occurrence in the skies over London to where, and I got this in some of my research for one of the videos I'm going to be putting out in regards to all this we're talking about, but it was like, kind of like the Gayami symbol, but it was like a solar, it was a white, almost like identical version of this, except for minus the two middle parts, where it was like spinning in the sky in London. And it was like
that's a Dyson sphere.
Okay.
That's a Nibiru satellite.
And I talked about Nibiru Thursday. Can you share what that satellite
before, look, when Nibiru is coming closer to the Earth, before they come, they always survey the Earth. And they got other planets that they do that with. The Dyson sphere is a satellite, right? They can actually use it, and they got a speaker system on there. And then they have what's called a telepathic communication system on there, where they can talk to your mind without talking with words. And it carries a lot of power. It's the same, it's a biblical description of the angel. The Dyson sphere.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so now for the people who might not have never heard of Nibiru, which I'm pretty sure most people out here probably have, but there might be some people who haven't. Do you mind sharing, like, with the tribe who?
Nibiru is called the planet of the crossing. The scientists got several names for it. They call it Rilo 7. They call it Planet X. The Dark Planet. It's a couple more names. I can't remember them all right now. But it's the second sun in our binary star system. Most of us don't know we live in a binary star system because the second star is got a different elliptical orbit than the Earth sun has. So when it goes through, it comes back at the close of every major cycle. Sometimes it comes back at different times based on the orbit, and it's a ship. They can navigate it, but it's also a sun called the black sun. But it's still another astrological body that comes through periodically.
Yeah, that's deep. I was trying to pull it up too. I want to pull it up. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up on the screen, like kind of like a diagram of Nibiru and like what it looks like and what it entails. So with that, because for those who might be new to the concept of Nibiru, and also like for those who might know of Nibiru but not know the depths of the details, Nibiru ain't just like a craft or a ship. It's huge. It's actually about what, the size of Earth, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in
it's like 1.5 times bigger than our sun.
right. So right now, with that, Nibiru won't technically be able to come into the planet because it's bigger than the planet. But Nibiru can. How close can Nibiru come to planet Earth within our solar system?
Several million miles. The orbit that is on, we will be able to see it, and it'll almost look like you can reach out and touch it, especially in the Alaska area, right? But it's not going to be as close as it looks. It's just that it's that goddamn big.
Yeah, and it moves with a it moves with a like what do you call it? What do you call it when you move a procession? It moves in a procession where it has like I want to say like 4 like crafts or 4 winds that are on each 4 corners of.
Right. So those are the reconnaissance battleships that protects Nibiru. They call them the 4 winds, but they ships. They big as a planet, but it's a ship. Right. Just like the Death Star in Star Wars, the ship is navigatable. You can steer it. So the first several times that since it's been in this orbit, it would throw the crust of the earth into a flip. This is what broke Pangea up. And it would flip the crust of the earth. Now they navigated the ship. So when it come through, you only would know by the core stop and reverse spin, which happened in January of 2024. But those are ships. Nibiru is a ship. Then they got lesser ships called motherships. That's, they can come into the Earth atmosphere. They small enough, but they still fucking huge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. And then they got cigar-shaped craft. Those are primarily Inky's fleet. The ones that look like giant triangles is primarily the fleet of Enlil. But we don't have to worry about them no more because he's been taken through the galactic courts and he confessed to all of the stuff he did. Right. So his reign is over. Right.
Yeah.
So all of his holdings now are liberated. They can be free will universes if they choose, or they can go back to being restricted will universes. Most of them want free will.
That's deep. That's real deep. I was trying to pull those. I was trying to pull the images in the bureau, but I don't want to get off track with keeping intact with the tribe and with the conversation. But I'll definitely have them for the next one. So now, let me see. We got a question. I think this one might be a relevant one. Well,
Yeah, I was going to say we coming up on 3 hours. We could take some questions from the audience from here.
Yeah. So
let
me.
We'll check out in about 15 minutes or so.
I got you. Let's do it. So let me see. Nope, that's not the one. Hold on. Okay, this one right here. Let me see. Let's see what this question is. Has anyone heard about ET spaceships that regularly go inside or outside of the sun?
Yeah. NASA published a video 2017, 2018 of a giant craft siphoning energy from the sun. It was a big black orb. It was siphoning energy from the sun. Yeah, that was a big deal to the NASA team.
Listen, I got a question from Thursday, which is funny to me that you said that. You said it was a big deal for the NASA team. So we was chopping it up. Like I said, the conversation was similar, but we talked about a lot. We covered a lot of ground, but one of the questions was about whether or not, well, it started with the difference between mankind and human. That's where it started. But then we went into, one of the brothers was like, yo, so is that what they meant when they said one small step for man, one giant step for mankind? Can you, does that make any sense to you? And if so, what does that mean to you from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, mankind is it's a um it's a code word for Indo-Europeans.
Hmm.
Well, not Indo,
Hmm.
Neo-Europeans.
Hmm.
And man is the code term from uh ancient humans. That's all. So you look at it like this. The babies on earth is getting a chance to feel like they running something. Okay. Now that they done went through their catharsis and burnt off all of their psychopathic racial personality and the Iceman inheritance, they ready to join the rest of the humans as a spiritual being. The rites of ascension was the great debauchery, which was denied them the rights of ascension. Being denied the rights of ascension, this is why you have all these aliens here, because it's royal families from different systems that's trying to correct a genetic waste product by donating a drop of blood from one of the royal families throughout the galaxies.
Hmm.
That's why America got a one drop of blood doctrine, because we was the last ones to participate in the genetic cleanup through amalgamation.
But that's deep. That, oh my God, that's deep. Because now last week I had Professor Copper on here, and he broke down like the significance of blood and why blood matters when you talk about bloodlines. And he didn't go into that part of it with the extraterrestrial aspect, but he definitely broke it down from a terrestrial aspect. But the
Right.
fact that he went into it from the extraterrestrial aspect, how does, because this has been a hot topic, or at least something that's been talked about quite frequently in the last couple of weeks on the episodes on the show, how does Sirius play a role into all this stuff that's going on, like the Sirius star system of
The
Canis
dog,
Major
the dog star.
and the Dogon?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So that goes back to the Dogon cosmology, where they say their ancestors came from Sirius and seeded them here.
Hmm.
Right. That was an intermediary period from the beginning to a certain point that's older than modern recorded history. You gotta remember, the history that we are dealing with is only a 6,000 year history. Antediluvian history, um, ancient history, all of the stuff before 6,000 years, they call it prehistory. That means before they start being able to document a record, right? But the Syrians, the dog star, is the progenitors of the Dogon.
Right. And that would be the nomos, correct?
The nomos is the term for them, but when they call them nomos, my phone about to die. When they call them nomos, they talking about, because remember, they first landed at the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they came out of the water, they wore the skins of fish.
Yep.
Right. It's just like on Earth when you wear the skin of a deer.
Yeah.
Same thing, different expression.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they nomos. Nomos mean fish man.
Hmm. That's, listen, look, I know the phone about to die, but this was dope. We about 3 hours in, man. Like I said, I knew this was gonna be one of them ones. I knew it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be special. It was gonna be monumental. I really felt like my spirit. It made me feel like, and it's dope that we even hit that. But it really made me feel like when Suge got with Pop, when Pop came home and he went in, man. He did the double album with All Eyes on Me, and then Machiavelli, and it's like the way that everything's been moving. That's not a coincidence to me. This
Since you
time.
brought that up, I want to remind everything what Tupac said on All Eyes on Me.
Mm,
Heard a rumor I died, murdered in cold blood, dramatized. Pictures of me in my final stages. Mama cried. That shit was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted, like I no longer existed, mysteriously missing. Right? He was telling you something. He was telling you something. Right before your very eyes, you won't even realize you can't see me. I'm standing right here and you can't see me. He was with Shock G at the All Eyes on Me premiere.
All right, Peter Shot G. Shot G from my hood. He from Tampa.
Yeah. Look, you ain't got to RIP Shock G. You can say until we see you in the future.
Yes, sir.
When Pac come back, he coming back with an entourage.
Woo!
It's gonna be they gonna call it the Dead Celebrity Ball.
Listen, and I just had a block party in heaven, and I'm telling you, like,
Look, the one that's gonna twist everybody cap back is a guy named Kurt Cobain.
Speak to him. Speak to him. Speak to him. Speak to him. Oh man, listen. The people going crazy. Look, we gotta do it again. I don't know when, but I'm gonna let you. We gotta do it again.
Oh yeah, we'll do it again, man. I had a blast.
You and me both. This was dope. The people going crazy. Like, I already knew. But that's the ancestors, you know, and that's, you know, shout out to Big Mama, man. But man, listen, Big Chief, I appreciate you.
Before we check out, one last thing Pac said, and you gotta remember, I can't go nowhere. They can't kill me until I clean this shit up. I can't go nowhere.
Yes, look, they said, boy, hey, the spirit is in it. Okay. I had my own take on why.
Hey, I got what?
It's about to go. Yeah, it's about to go. We done ran the juice out. It's all good. Yeah, man. We're gonna wrap it up, family. I think Big Bro, yeah, his juice died. Yeah, it's all good. Man, listen. Hey, shout out to everybody who came through. I knew this was gonna be a legendary episode. Big Bro. Oh, wait, he might be back. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I think his phone had died. But shout out to everybody who came through tonight, man. I definitely appreciate the love and support. Shout out to all the new tribe members, the new subscribers. Everybody who's been showing love, we appreciate y'all, man. For real, for real. Yeah, it ain't over till we win. And shout out to all the elders who have been holding us down from day one. Shout out to the ancestors who paved the way. And shout out to everybody who came through tonight, man. This is it's a very special time to be on the planet Earth. Very special time to be alive, man. And it ain't over till we win. And as you all heard tonight, there's a major cosmic shift that's happening. You know, and Big Mama is here to do what Big Mama do. And who gonna check her, boo? And so with that, I give thanks, you know, to everybody who came through. A lot of new tribe members, a lot of new listeners, a lot of new people who stopped through on the channel, man. Shout out to the Big Chief Rod Hayes for coming through and burning this thing down, man. It's been a phenomenal last 3 days. We went 3 days in a row with live streams. We went for the 3-peat, man, and we here now because it's bigger than me, and it's definitely about the tribe, and it's about all of us making it do what it do to see what we was born, you know, in this time, in this age to come, bear witness and to put forth the energy, the effort, and the passion to know that we're here to stand for the sake of light, you know, and the positivity and love and elevation and frequency of the cosmos. This is bigger than the planet. Like, this is literally a time where the whole entire solar system, like everything that's in the surrounding areas of our universal neighborhood and construct, is like here. Like, we got a lot of entities and energies that's at play. So me personally, I just give thanks for, you know, my opportunity to be able to be here to do this with y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for all the love and support. Shout out to the Big Chief again, man. He came through and burned this thing down. I'm definitely holler at him, see when we can make it do what it do again. But for with that, we're going to sign off tonight. Appreciate you all, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami. Shout out to the spirits of Tupac, Amaru, Shakur, and all the other powerful ancient warrior ancestors who we summons here tonight. We give thanks. And with that, I'll see y'all on the next episode. We out. Peace, family. Udabo.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your